Boggs, Ryne, Sandburg also being honored today. Cherry Coleman, the Ford Frick Award winner, and our own Peter Gammons, who will get the J.G. Taylor Spink Award. So we expect to have an emotional day. We expect to have a wonderful day. Join us here throughout the afternoon in Cooperstown, New York. We take a short break, and again, the Roll Call of Immortals. 52 living Hall of Famers are here, 50 of the 62 soon to be 52 with Boggs and Sandburg. We're back right after this in Cooperstown.
ESPN Classics Hall of Fame, presented by Super 8 Motels. See you along the way.
Somewhere between where you are and where you're going, there's a Super 8. See you along the way.
You any good?
So somebody told me that you play basketball. Thank you.
Last year, when you bought a bag of Baby Ruth, you got a free game of bowling. Another bag? Another free game. Millions of free games were given away. And this year, we're doing it again. That's right. There are millions and millions more free games of bowling in the return of the Baby Ruth free bowling giveaway. Hurry in and pick up specially marked bags of fun size, 10 packs, and minis, and get your free game today.
I'm okay.
Baby Ruth from Nestle, the real deal.
I'm Josh Elliott. Join me for Classic Now, where we take today's breaking sports news and give it to you with a deep perspective and backstory. Classic Now, where the past is always present.
Premiering 7 Eastern August 8th, only on ESPN Classic.
We return here live in Cooperstown, New York for the Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. We have a huge crowd here today. You never know how many are exactly going to show up. You figure there's going to be a lot of Cub fans here, but it's quite a drive. It's quite a trip. You know, there's going to be some Red Sox fans here. The all-time record is 50,000, 1995. That was the year that Mike Schmidt, Richie Ashburn got in. The Philadelphia fans drove up here. Timmy, there could be 20, 25,000 people here today. There could be more people who are still filing in.
Right, and it's great. And, you know, how many fans have we seen sleep out overnight in front of the Hall of Fame Museum in order to get a special replica something or other? And everybody here, they can't leave town. They walk through town, and all they want to do is just circulate and see if they can run into a famous person. It's great.
Well, look there again. There's 62 living Hall of Famers. We're just told Dale Petrovsky, the president of the Hall of Fame, just announced 53 of the 62 are here today. So one showed up that we didn't expect. You don't know Stan Musial is here. We expect Sandy Koufax to be here. You will hear them all be announced. When we come back again, the roll call of the Immortals. It's always a fan favorite. It's wonderful to see the greatest players of all time will be announced here live on ESPN Classic, live in Cooperstown. We're back right after this.
No, something new. We've been there.
Okay, folks.
Why not make a smaller one?
Next Sunday, ESPN Classic's got your ticket to this year's Pro Football Hall of Fame induction. From Dan Marino rewriting the record books to Steve Young's road to Super Bowl glory. The 2005 Pro Football Hall of Fame induction, 5 p.m. next Sunday on ESPN Classic.
If your broker tells you he shopped really hard to get you the best auto insurance deal in town, ask him if he got a quote from 21st.
You see, your broker can't quote you our low rates. We don't work with brokers.
We work directly with you. Call 1-800-211-SAVE and get a free quote in minutes.
In fact, our new customers save an average of $300.
Remember, we don't charge broker fees. We work directly with you.
You have our word on that.
21st Century Insurance. Good people to call. Call us now at 1-800-211-SAVE.
I'm Dr. Richard Fulks, Medical Director of Future Vision Laser Center. I'm excited to announce the perfection of the LASIK procedure with the advent of the all-laser technique. No blades, more accuracy and safety. If you've been considering LASIK, there's never been a better time than now. The lowest price in Chicagoland today, no money down, 0% interest. Call 1-888-633-6333 now or visit our website, glassesfree.com.
There's Peter Gammons, J.G. Taylor Spink Award winner today, being introduced now. Of course, he'll receive his award later this afternoon. But Peter beaming this weekend, and he should be. Tim, this is such a prestigious honor for him.
It is, and it's long overdue. Peter should have been in 10 years ago. Again, when he recreated the game. He changed the business. He got writers on television. He invented the Sunday Notes column. He's the greatest beat writer of all time for me. Nobody wrote a better game story than Peter Gammons.
Look, a prolific writer, a marvelous writer. And I'm nervous to think about him up there and giving a speech to this throng of people. It's going to be very exciting. Let's talk as well about, of course, the class of 2005, Wade Boggs and Ryne Sandburg. Tim, when you do careful analysis, you will see there are very few second basemen in the game that are above Ryne Sandburg. Very few third basemen who are above Wade Boggs. I think both of these guys are slam dunk. Not both first ballot, but should be first ballot Hall of Famers.
Absolutely. I mean, the numbers are undeniable in Boggs' case first. 328 lifetime, 5 batting titles, 4 in a row, 7 straight 200-hit seasons, 4 years in a row, 350 or better. First guy in 60 years to do that. And then you add up the 14th most doubles, 22nd most walks, all those years with 200 hits and 100 walks. That's a Hall of Famer right there.
So
First time.
Ryne Sandburg is a rare Hall of Famer in that he really gets there on his peak. Basically, from the ages 33 and on, he did nothing to add to his credentials. So he did this in his prime. And I think that's the best way to evaluate a Hall of Famer. How great were you in your prime?
Well, and that's why he didn't get in the first time, is too many people looked at 33 on, which is not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to look at the peak years and see where he was. He was the premier second baseman in the National League for 10 years. And when you look at, he changed the position also. Long before middle infielders were hitting 30 homers in a season, this guy became the first one to do it in back-to-back seasons at second base.
We are ready for the roll call of the Immortals. Gary Thorne is our master of ceremonies, filling in for George Grand, who has a illness in his family. So let's go right now to the stage live and Gary Thorne.
This is the largest collection of Hall of Famers ever gathered together in one place at one time. These are the returning members of this Hall of Fame. During his 24-year career, it was not velocity, but it was a fluttering knuckleball that frustrated major league hitters and created a lot of jelly legs. He won 318 games. He twice led the National League in wins. He propelled Atlanta to the National League West title in 1969 when he won 23 games, including 21 complete games and an ERA of 2.57. He is a 5-time All-Star, pitched the no-hitter against the Padres in 1973, and later would manage the all-women Colorado Silver Bullets. He is known as Knucksy. Please welcome Phil Niekro. He was credited by none other than his roommate, Stan Musial, as having the greatest pair of hands ever. A 19-year career, second base, Cardinals, Giants, and Braves, 10 All-Star selections. He led the National League in fielding percentage 6 times, hit 300 or better on 7 separate occasions. As a manager, he twice piloted the Redbirds to the World Series. He has worn a major league uniform as a player, a coach, or a manager for an incredible 7 decades. He is one of the game's great treasures. And if you ever are fortunate enough to have the opportunity to talk baseball with this man, you will hear about a lot of great legends he has played with, beside, and managed. Please welcome Red Shandix. It was 1954. He was 17 years old. He signed with Pittsburgh as a shortstop, moved to second base by Branch Rickey. He eventually became one of the best defensive second basemen in history with a lifetime .983 fielding percentage. He is a 10-time National League All-Star. He led the league in assists 9 times, fielding percentage 3 times, and double plays 8 times. A consistent batter at the plate who created one of baseball's immortal moments in 1960 in Pittsburgh against the Yankees when he became the first player ever to win the World Series with a home run. Please welcome back Hall of Famer Bill Mazeroski. Our next Hall of Famer was noted for extreme focus as a competitor on the mound. He outpitched the hard-biting slider that he used, complemented a tremendous fastball. He won 329 games, second only to Warren Spahn among lefties. 4,136 strikeouts, exceeded only by Nolan Ryan when he retired. He had six, count them, 6 20-win seasons, and was the first pitcher ever to win 4 Cy Young Awards. Like so many of the people you will meet here today, you only need one word: lefty. Please welcome Steve Carlton. This man's career was forged on the strength of collecting base hits. He was versatile in the field and a very savvy base runner. As a member of the Brewers, Twins, and Blue Jays, the 7-time All-Star batted over 300 in a dozen seasons. He stole over 500 bases and fashioned a 39-game hit streak in 1987. The 1993 World Series MVP with the Blue Jays, who ended with 3,319 hits, 8th on the all-time hit list. One of the fiercest competitors this game's ever had. Please welcome one of the newly inducted, Paul Molitor. Over 17 seasons with the Cardinals, this man won 20 games 5 times, established himself as one of the great intimidators ever to take to the mound. He was one of the best athletes ever to play the game, posted a 1.12 ERA in 1968, the lowest figure since 1914. He was named the National League Cy Young Award winner and MVP. He is known as one of the game's premier big game pitchers, posting World Series records in 7 consecutive wins and 17 strikeouts in 1 World Series game, and the MVP in 1964 and 1967. And when I asked him a couple of months ago, did you ever throw at a hitter? He looked me straight in the eye and said, I never threw a pitch at a hitter, but there were a number of hitters who walked into my pitches. Please welcome Bob Gibson. Our next Hall of Famer, extraordinary intensity as a member of the exclusive 3,000 hit club. He is a 12-time All-Star, played his entire 21-year career with the Kansas City Royals, earning the American League MVP, a Gold Glove, 3 batting titles, and a lifetime average of .305. His .390 average in 1980, .390, is still the highest since Ted Williams' .406 mark in 1941. Please welcome back the man who flew out of the dugout, George Brett. This Hall of Famer is the only manager in history to have won World Series championships in both the American and the National Leagues. His career totals 2,194 victories, the 3rd most in Major League history. He was named Manager of the Year twice, won 5 pennants, 3 World Series crowns. He has one of the great dispositions of all people involved in this game, and for members of the press and players, there was nothing quite like going into his office before a game and just sitting down and talking baseball. He can do it so well. Please welcome Sparky Anderson. Consistency that covered 17 years in the game, becoming the first pitcher to record 100 wins and 1,000 strikeouts in both the American and National Leagues. He threw no hitters in both leagues, including a perfect game in 1964. He ended up with 224 career wins, was a 7-time All-Star selection, and has moved on to yet another illustrious career. Please welcome the United States Senator from the state of Kentucky, Jim Bunning. It was a relatively brief 10-year career shortened by a back ailment for one of the game's greatest home run hitters. 369 home runs, winning or sharing the National League home run title in each of his first 7 seasons in Pittsburgh. He topped 50 home runs twice at a time when that was unheard of. His ratio of 7.1 homers per 100 at-bats trails only Babe Ruth and Mark McGwire to this day. He averaged better than 100 RBI a season as he led the National League in slugging 3 times. As a Mets broadcaster for 13 years, I had the distinct honor of sitting in the booth with this man to broadcast games and to become a friend. He is one of the game's true gentlemen. Please welcome back Ralph Kiner. There are names that go with these players, sometimes very short, sometimes first names, nicknames, like Mr. October. World Series heroics for both the A's and the Yankees. 27 Fall Classic games in which he amassed 10 home runs, including 4 in consecutive at-bats. 24 RBIs and a .357 batting average in World Series play. One of the game's premier power hitters, 563 career round-trippers, a lifetime slugging percentage of .490, and he earned the American League MVP honors in 1973. Again, Reggie Jackson. And he's quick from out behind the stage. This man was the big game pitcher for the great Yankee teams of the 50s and early 60s. His moniker became chairman of the board. A southpaw whose lifetime record of 236 wins and 106 losses gives him the best winning percentage, which is .690, of any 20th century pitcher. He paced the American League in victories 3 times and in ERA and shutouts twice. The 1961 Cy Young Award winner still has many World Series records all time for pitchers, including 10 wins, 94 strikeouts, once pitching 33 consecutive scoreless innings in World Series play. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome part of those great Yankee teams, the chairman of the board, Whitey Ford. One of baseball's most durable players, 24 years behind the plate. He caught more games than any player in history. He is an 11-time All-Star, 376 career home runs, including a record-setting 351 as a catcher at the time he retired. Perhaps the most memorable moment for all of us as fans when we think about Pudge is Game 6, 1975, the wall in Fenway, and the wishing and the praying and the moving of a home run. That 12th inning blast has become part of baseball's great moments. His tremendous pride and work ethic respected by both teammates, opponents, and by fans. And he continues to be one of the great characters of the game, and I mean that in the finest sense. Please welcome back Pudge, Carlton Fisk. There are those who are soft-spoken who have succeeded at this game. He hit an astounding 573 career round-trippers, surpassed only by Babe Ruth among American League sluggers. He played for 22 years, Senators, Royals, Twins, led the league in home runs 6 times, belted 40 or more on 8 occasions, and knocked in 100 or more runs 9 times. He was the American League MVP in 1969 when he led the league in homers, RBIs, walks, and on-base percentage. He is one of the real gentlemen of the game who continues to give of his time and effort, not only for the players of today, but for the players from yesterday. He does so freely and often and without much recognition. One of the game's great power hitters, Harmon Killebrew. Consistency, durability, dominance characterized this 22-year career. One of the most productive hitters of the 1970s and one of only 4 players with 500 home runs and 3,000 RBI. He was a stalwart at first base for 12 seasons in Baltimore, winning 3 Gold Gloves at that position. He has been named to 8 All-Star teams, and no switch hitter has more RBIs than does he. Hall of Famer, Eddie Murray. We talk about consistency and durability from the mound. A 23-year Major League career for this man who won 324 games, striking out 3,574 batters, and amazingly, never missed a turn in the pitching rotation for the Dodgers, Astros, Brewers, A's, and Angels. In this day and age, absolutely unheard of. A 4-time All-Star, he reached double figures in wins in 21 of his 23 seasons and struck out over 100 batters in each of his first 21 seasons. He pitched in 4 World Series, posted 5 career one-hit games. And he knows his wine. Don Sutton. A 5-tool player is talked about often but rarely seen, at least to the excess that we see in this man. 22 seasons, 12 All-Star games, 6 feet 6 inches, one of the most imposing figures ever to come to the plate in Major League history. He combined power, consistency, line drives, and towering fly balls. His tours of duty with 6 Major League teams resulted in 465 homers, 3,110 hits, 7 Gold Gloves, and he helped the Toronto Blue Jays to their first World Championship in 1992. And he is just as imposing now as he was when he stood in the batter's box. Dave Winfield. Ted Williams called this man the silent captain of the Red Sox. A .288 lifetime average and .409 is what he hit in the 46 World Series. He drove in 100 runs 6 times and once held the American League record by handling 414 chances without an error. Frequently in his career, led the American League second baseman in double plays, putouts, and assists. The affable second baseman was signed by Eddie Collins on the same scouting trip where Ted Williams was signed for Boston. And for those of you who have read Teammates, you will understand just exactly what that term means. If you have not, I urge you to do so if you love baseball. One of the game's great infielders and consistent hitters, please welcome Bobby Doerr. This 17-year career epitomized the emergence of what we know today as the closer. Relying on a sharp slider, 341 career saves, the distinctive handlebar mustache, the familiar sight in postseason play, including 16 World Series games. He won both the American League MVP and the Cy Young Award with the Braves in 1981. And for all who come in this game from now forward with the role of closer and who will make it here, they can look to this man's plaque and say thank you. Raleigh Fingers. There's more than one way to get the job done on the field in baseball. This man lined it, chopped it, bunted it, and ran it out. 3,053 career hits and 7 batting titles. He hit over 300 in 15 consecutive seasons with the Twins and the Angels and finished with a .328 lifetime average. He was the Rookie of the Year in 1967. He won the league MVP 10 years later and was named to 18 straight All-Star teams. One of the great hitting strokes of all times and one of the great delights to watch, the wrists snap, a line drive the other way. Hall of Famer Rod Carew. With minimum fanfare, this man piled up 22 seasons at the major league level. Quiet, durable, leadership, 3,007 hits, 399 home runs, finished with a .297 career batting average, 10 Gold Gloves, and 15 All-Star appearances. He won the batting title in 1955 and forever had a reputation as a clutch performer that was only enhanced by a .379 average against St. Louis in the World Series in 1968. He continues to be one of the great gentlemen of our game. Mr. Tiger, L.K. Ryne. Enthusiasm, exuberance, memories, hitting for average, power, fielding, throwing, base running. His staggering career statistics: 3,283 hits, 660 home runs. The superstar earned the National League Rookie of the Year in '51. He would go on to win 2 MVPs, 12 Gold Gloves, 24 All-Star games, 4 World Series. His catch with his back to home plate in 1954 during the series remains perhaps baseball's enduring pitcher. And even in the heavens, where the stars shine brightly, there is a North Star that twinkles a little earlier and a little brighter. The Say Hey Kid, Willie Mays. Following in his father's footsteps, Hall of Fame footsteps, this man served as front office executive for 45 years. Director of player personnel for the Yankees, he built one of the game's great farm systems of all time. During his tenure in New York, the Yankees won 7 world championships in 10 years. He served also as GM of the Orioles before rejoining the Yankees and then on to American League president. Please welcome back Lee MacPhail. This man is recognized as one of the most gifted base runners in baseball history. 938 stolen bases during a 19-year career. 6-time All-Star selection. Accumulated more than 3,000 hits, leading the St. Louis Cardinals to 3 National League pennants and 2 World Series championships. One of the classiest gentlemen baseball has ever had the honor of having on the field. He has also remained the same off. Ladies and gentlemen, Lou Brock. "17 years in the majors. Some injuries that could have impeded someone of less of a desire to go forward with the game. He became a 7-time National League All-Star, 20-year-old rookie when he broke in with the Giants in '58. That year he hit 312, 25 home runs and was the National League Rookie of the Year. 9 years later, the Puerto Rican compiled a league-leading 111 RBIs for the world champion Cardinals, becoming the first unanimous MVP in the National League since Carl Hubble in 1936. And while there are many great pitchers who will be on the stage and are here now, if you talk to them, they will tell you that when this man stepped into the Boggs, there were many who wished maybe for that at-bat they weren't on the mound. Imposing, the baby bull, Orlando Cepeda. This blazing fastball set the standard against which all successors have been judged. 18 years with Cleveland, 266 victories, 2,581 strikeouts, led the league in strikeouts 7 times. He, like a number of players of his generation, would miss what was perhaps the golden part of their baseball years in service to their country during World War II. for which he was decorated with 5 campaign ribbons and 8 battle stars. He is a fireballer who authored 3 no-hitters and 12 one-hitters and won 20 or more games 6 times. That's why he was called, and still is today, Rapid Robert. Ladies and gentlemen, Bob Feller. Canada's first member of the Hall of Fame, this man used pinpoint control and change of speeds to win 284 Major League games. A 3.34 ERA despite playing 12 of 19 years in ballparks that were considered to be hitters' yards, Wrigley and Fenway. He was a diligent workhorse day in, day out, an uncomplicated motion, smooth, effortless. The 20-win mark attained 7 times, and the National League Cy Young Award winner in 1971. We have talked before about quiet class succeeding. Here again is another example. Please welcome Ferguson Jenkins. Seem to be some Cub fans on hand here today. I wonder why. More to come. This man combined athletic ability with aerobic skill to become one of the game's greatest defensive shortstops. 19 years with the Padres and Cardinals, he won 13 Gold Gloves. He set a Major League shortstop record for assists, double plays, and total chances. He would develop also the offensive weapons at the plate that would allow him to finish with over 2,400 hits and 500 stolen bases. His 9th inning home run won the 5th game of the '85 National League Championship Series. And right back here on Friday, he went out to help raise money for the Hall and amazed people by doing the same things he used to do on the grass and the carpet in St. Louis, making behind-the-back throws, throws from the hole, 2-3 hoppers, just like he did when he was the Wizard and will always be. Ozzie Smith. It was a brief career, as even he would say, as a left-handed pitcher. Perhaps in this day and age, if he'd had the opportunity as a lefty, the career would have been a little longer on the field. As a player, it couldn't have been any longer as a participant. He is one of the most enthusiastic and successful managers in baseball history, leading the Dodgers to 8 division titles, 2 world championships, and 21 seasons as their manager. He also managed the United States to its first ever gold medal in baseball in Sydney, the 2000 Olympics. He bleeds Dodger blue. He will leave here to go scout the minor league teams of LA, where he still works and still dedicates his baseball acumen. He has had an association with that club that spans 7 decades. Tommy Lasorda. We've always said that playing this game is supposed to be fun. If it's not fun, then there's not much sense in going forward with it. Well, this man had fun. 12 solid seasons with the Minnesota Twins. He hit for power and average, .318, 207 lifetime home runs. He led the Twins to a pair of World Series titles in '87 and again in '91. A 6-time Gold Glove Award winner, named to 10 consecutive All-Star teams from '86 to '95. He was not a one-hit wonder on the field, off the field. He is a one-hit wonder. Louis Armstrong's Wonderful World is what he sings for his fellow Hall of Famers each and every year, and they love every minute of it, and so does he, because it's still fun. Kirby Puckett. The Big Red Machine produced an inordinate number of great baseball players. That club of the '70s had as one of its more quiet leaders this man, a native of Cuba, left a job in the Havana sugarcane factory to sign with the Cincinnati Reds. In '67, he notched the first of 7 100 RBI campaigns, concluding with more than 1,600 RBIs over 23 major league seasons. Respected as one of the game's outstanding clutch hitters and fierce competitors, he had a 3-home run game in the 1975 World Series, including a key 2-run shot in Game 7, one of 2 World Championships that he earned. He, as we have said of others here, remains one of those quiet, confident, spectacular stars. From the Big Red Machine, please welcome Tony Perez. When third basemen are measured by what they do at the hot corner, this is the man you look to see how well it's going. 23 years for the Orioles, major league career records in games, putouts, assists, chances, double plays, fielding percentage. Total 268 career home runs, and at one time held the American League record in that department for third baseman. He was the league's MVP in 1964 and the World Series MVP in 1970, when in that World Series he hit .429 and made a highlight reel of stops at third base that to this day have not been equaled. The sign of his diving into foul territory, sprawled on his belly, getting up, and from 4 or 5 feet outside the line, make the throw to first on the money over and over and over again in that World Series, earned him the name as the human vacuum cleaner. He is the standard at third base. Brooks Robinson. The man was soft-spoken when he arrived, and that never changed when he came from Whistler, Alabama. His bat did talking, though, for 18 years. 2,711 hits, a .290 career average, and 426 home runs. He became a 6-time All-Star, the National League Rookie of the Year in 1961, Sporting News Player of the Year in 1972. He held the National League mark for consecutive games played at 1,117 when he retired. He has gone on to become a special assistant to Cubs President Andy MacPhail and is seen, the inductee you'll be meeting later, a lot in Chicago. He continues to be one of this game's great spokesmen and great gentlemen. Please welcome back Billy Williams. This man had a blazing fastball. First curtain call of the day. A career that stretched over too short a period of time for those who were fans, because he was one of the most dominating pitchers in the history of the game. He won 25 in a season 3 times, capturing 5 straight ERA titles and the new standard of 382 strikeouts in 1965. His fastball, with a devastating overhand curve that sent hitters to their knees, resulted in his pitching no-hitters in 4 consecutive seasons, including a perfect game in 1965. He posted an amazing .95 ERA in 4 career World Series, leading the Dodgers to 3 championships. He is one of those names where you just say, Sandy. Sandy Koufax. As this game goes even more international, as it will next spring, there are the players who were the leaders in that department and began the movement of players born outside the United States becoming major league stars. This man is the pride of both the Dominican Republic and the Giants. He won 243 games, lost only 142 over 16 years. The high kick from this right-hander is in and of itself enough to define him. He enjoyed 6 20-win seasons, pitched a no-hitter in 1963. He was named 9 All-Star teams. He twice led the National League in complete games and shutouts, finishing with 244 contests during his career on the W side and a 2.89 ERA. We talked about how Kirby enjoyed playing this game. So did this man, and still the joy reigns. The nickname was the Dominican Dandy, Juan Marshall. "22 years as a St. Louis Cardinal, and in all of them, he ranked at or near the top of baseball's all-time list in almost every batting category. He hit 300 or better 17 times, and he won 7 National League batting titles. A 3-time MVP, 24 All-Star games. His nickname was the Man. It was given to him by Dodger fans because of the havoc he wrought at Ebbets Field, and was but 1 home run shy of being a Triple Crown winner in 1948. Let me tell you that there are, for the people who are sitting up here, people who come back who, when they arrive, this entire group gathers. This is one of those people, and when he arrived here this weekend, all of these people went to him. Please welcome back Stan the Man, Stan Musial.
Thank you, Gary. Now we're all going to take a 7th inning stretch. So let's stretch out, and then we're going to.
You got to wait a minute. You got to let me finish the announcements, and then I'll introduce you.
Do what?
You're going to let me finish the announcements first, all right?
Okay, yeah. I can't wait till I get the mic.
Then you're going to be up here. No, you sit back down for a minute. It's not 7th inning stretch time. But it was close, and Stan will be back for 7th inning stretch. All right, we've got to give you a chance to warm up first. All right. This man achieved 2 of pitching's most magical milestones: 314 wins, 3,534 strikeouts, distracting and frustrating hitters throughout his career, 20-game winner 5 times, a lifetime ERA of 3.10. Magnificent competitor, Cy Young Awards, 1972 with Cleveland, 1978 with San Diego. He became the first pitcher to win the Cy Young Award in both leagues. He baffled hitters who came to the plate against him. Please welcome back Gaylord Perry. He was the ace of the Phillies staff for most of his 14 years in a brilliant 19-season major league career. A workhorse, pinpoint control, fastball, 286 wins, 6 consecutive 20-win seasons, including the National League lead in victories 4 consecutive years from 52 to 55. In 1950, he paced the Phillies to their first flag in 35 years when he went 20-11. He is one of the quiet, distinguished gentlemen in baseball's history. Please welcome back Robin Roberts. We go from quiet to flair, wit, yelling, screaming, kicking. That was all on the field. He fashioned an impressive .583 winning percentage, bolstered by 5 100-win seasons, a managerial style that became colorful, innovative, and absolutely known across the country, and it was successful. 1,480 games, won 6 American League East titles, 4 pennants, and the 1970 World Series. He became the Earl of Baltimore. Earl Weaver. This man opened up new doors to the Hall of Fame. During the first half of his 24-year big league career, he won 150 games as a starter. Over the next 12 years, he saved nearly 400 games, leading his hometown Oakland A's to 4 American League West titles and earning both Cy Young and MVP honors in 1992. He's the only pitcher ever to record 100 saves and 100 complete games during a 6-year stretch from 1988 to 1993. He struck out 458 in that time frame and walked 51. He set a standard by which those who were starters realized there might be a whole other career available to them, and all they have to do is look at this plaque and see the numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, Dennis Eckersley. A brilliant catcher, a dominant hitter, a centerpiece of some of the greatest teams baseball's ever had. A 19-year career with the Yankees, named the American League All-Star team every year from 1948 to 1962. He topped the 100 RBI mark 4 years in a row. He became a 3-time American League MVP in that career that featured 14 league pennants and 10 World Series championships. And I'm also happy to say he's one of baseball's great hockey fans. Ladies and gentlemen, the man behind the plate from the Yankees, Yogi Berra. Most think of this man because of the defense behind the plate. But he was one of the game's outstanding hitters. A durable leader behind the plate, noted for his tremendous baseball intelligence and handling a staff. He won 10 Gold Glove Awards, 2 MVPs, Rookie of the Year during his 17-year National League career. 14-time All-Star. He hit 389 home runs. He led the league in RBIs 3 times. Another one of the leaders from the Big Red Machine of the 70s. He is arguably the man that we now measure the role behind the plate by. Please welcome Johnny Bench. Although he played hurt through much of his 22-year career, this Giants first baseman had that sweeping, powerful swing that ended up belting 521 homers, over 2,200 hits. He led the National League in home runs 3 times and RBIs twice, pacing the circuit in slugging percentage for 3 consecutive years. He earned the National League MVP honors in 1969, 10 years after earning the Rookie of the Year honors in the National League. And as we talked about the Baby Bull and his presence at the plate, when you talk to pitchers, including Hall of Famers, they will tell you when this man came up, you got very, very careful. Please welcome Willie McCovey. There are those who had to walk through darker forests than most of us in their careers. He was one of the finest African-American players in the years preceding integration of the game. He fashioned a career of dual excellence in both the Negro Leagues and in the major leagues. A high average hitter with power, he provided a potent bat in the years of the Newark Eagles. And he crossed the color line in 1949 to become a key contributor to the Giants and 2 pennants, batting .458 in the 1951 World Series. When we speak of baseball history and what the game has gone through, that means individuals have gone through it, and this is one of those individuals who moved the game forward. Please welcome Monty Irvin. This man relied on constant practice to become a solid hitter and a sure fielder. He batted over 309 times, topped the American League third baseman in fielding percentage on 7 separate occasions. Strong, accurate arm, led the league in double plays 6 times, assists 4, putouts twice. 1949, he dramatically captured the American League batting title when he edged out Ted Williams by less than 2/10,000ths of a point. He is one of baseball's givers, forever involved in the game since his retirement, asking nothing in return. Please welcome Hall of Famer George Kell. Another one of the great classic rugged receivers, leader behind the plate, offensively and defensively, 3-time Gold Glove winner, 324 home runs, 19-year major league career, twice an All-Star Game MVP in his 11 times there, and a clutch 10th inning single in Game 6 of the '86 World Series that sparked a dramatic Mets comeback victory, leading them to the title that year. Having had the opportunity to be involved with that ball club, one of the most cooperative individuals I've ever met from the point of view of those of us in the press, and another one of the individuals who loved playing the game. And he is back helping others enjoy that now as he coaches in A-ball for the Mets. The kid, Gary Carter. This next Hall of Famer grew up in Southern California, idolizing Jackie Robinson. Little did he know that he was going to end up as the teammate of Jackie for 10 years. He was the guy who, with the Brooklyn Dodgers, led them with the bat during the 1950s. He hit 40 or more homers 5 consecutive times, led all batters in home runs and RBI during the 50s. His .295 lifetime average goes along with 407 home runs, and he was named to play in 8 All-Star games. But for some, there simply is an aura. This is one of those auras. Ladies and gentlemen, the Duke of Flatbush, Duke Snider. Number 41 was the franchise power pitcher who changed what the New York Mets were to what they became. Quintessential professional who won 311 games with a 2.86 ERA over 20 years, 3,272 strikeouts, set a National League career record. He fanned 3,640 overall in his career, including striking out 200 or more in 10 different seasons. He was the National League Rookie of the Year in 1967, a 3-time Cy Young Award winner, and he made more opening day starts, 16 of them, than any pitcher in history. Along with Ralph Kiner, I have had the honor of working with Tom in the booth as a broadcast partner, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to present to you Tom Terrific, proprietor of Seaver Vineyards. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Seaver. And see, your good teammates never forget you. He saw that I was sweating bullets, so he brings me a nice cooling cloth. It's got vodka in it? Ooh, if only I'd known that sooner. And last but not least, these two gentlemen you are going to hear from later in the program. We will introduce them now to get them out on stage, but a lot more is coming for them. I suspect they have not slept in a number of days, and they've loved every minute of it. Please welcome the newest members of the Hall of Fame class of 2005, Wade Boggs and Ryne Sandburg.
We will hear the speeches of Ryne Sandburg and Wade Boggs. And don't worry, Stan Musial will break out the harmonica. Nice to see Fergie Jenkins and Billy Williams greeted warmly by Cubs fans. Willie Mays, a huge ovation. Lou Brock greeted with lament by Cub fans. Well, they got Sandburg, but they lost Brock. We will be back and hear the induction speeches of Ryne Sandburg and Wade Boggs when we come back.
Sports are great for a kid's body. Steroids aren't. They can ruin tendons in legs and arms. Steroids can stunt bone growth and increase the chances of liver cancer, heart attack, and stroke. Steroids don't make great athletes. They destroy them. Talk to your kids. Need help? Get help. Visit drugfree.org.
Cholesterol comes from two sources. It's not only from that foot-long Frank, but from your Grandpa Frank. And not just from that Virginia ham, but from your Aunt Ginny, too. Your cholesterol doesn't just come from food. It also has a lot to do with family history. Ask your doctor about Vytorin. A healthy diet is important, but when it's not enough, adding Vytorin can help. Vytorin treats the two sources of cholesterol, food, and what your body makes naturally based on family history. Vytorin was proven in clinical studies to lower bad cholesterol more than Lipitor alone. Vytorin is not for everyone, including people with liver problems, women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Unexplained muscle pain or weakness could be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. Vytorin may interact with other medicines or certain foods, increasing your risk of getting this serious side effect. Simple blood tests are needed to check for liver problems. Follow a healthy diet and ask your doctor about adding Vytorin. For the two sources of cholesterol, remember the name Vytorin. That's Vytorin.
Ryne Sandburg, of course, an outstanding offensive player, but also 9 Gold Gloves, now second to Roberto Alomar. We'll hear from Ryne Sandburg. We'll hear from Wade Boggs when we return to Cooperstown. Get a lot more to come from the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies here. 2005, we're back in Cooperstown, New York, right after this.
This ESPN Classic program is brought to you by the makers of Tenactin. Tackle athlete's foot with Tough Actin Tenactin.
That's not tough enough to stop athlete's foot. Hit that with boom, Tough Actin Tenactin. Tenactin's the only one proven to prevent athlete's foot. Lamisil can't say that. Get boom, Tough Actin Tenactin.
Tuesday on DVD, the complete Pro Football Hall of Fame. For the first time, all 229 legends of the NFL are immortalized on a 3-disc set.
At the 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
The Pro Football Hall of Fame. Buy it wherever DVDs are sold. on DVD. The complete Pro Football Hall of Fame. For the first time, all 229 legends of the NFL are immortalized on a 3-disc set.
At the 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
The Pro Football Hall of Fame. Buy it wherever DVDs are sold.
You're pretty. Waiting long?
Yeah, and I'm late.
No car, huh?
Bad credit.
I got a car. Hey, I can't get financing. Sure you can. It's easy. Just call 1-800-BAR-NONE. If you need car financing, even if you have bad credit, 1-800-BAR-NONE could get you approved in minutes. 1-800-BAR-NONE? You can? I am? Really? Scintillating. Need a car? Call 1-800-BAR-NONE. Everyone deserves a second chance, bar none. Call now.
Classic Now, a new show coming August 8th to ESPN Classic.
Back here in Cooperstown, Wade Boggs and Ryne Sandburg packing them in. Nice crowd here for the class of 2005. Let's take a look at the career of Wade Boggs. He is here in Cooperstown for his ability to hit 5 batting titles, 6 times leading the American League in on-base percentage. Also, of course, went to the New York Yankees 5 years with the Bronx Bombers, won a World Series title with the Yankees in 1996. He was the first man to get his 3,000th hit with a home run as well. Ended with 3,010, finishing in his hometown Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Wade Boggs, 7 200-hit seasons. Also worked himself into a good fielder as well, winning 2 Gold Gloves. Those were with the Yankees. Again, the 5 batting titles. The World Series championship. Of course, Red Sox fans remember him riding that horse at Yankee Stadium. We're back to beautiful Cooperstown in a moment. We'll have more in the induction ceremonies here in upstate New York. Jeff.
I'm just like you. I work hard every day. Back pain or not, because I get big relief from the Icy Hot Back Patch.
Bigger than many ordinary patches. First, it's icy to dull the pain, then hot to relax it away. The Icy Hot Back Patch.
Count on it.
Why are you doing this? This is unbelievable. Stop eating.
Hon, the babysitter's fine.
A1 steak sauce.
Did you eat my steak?
Yeah, it's that important.
Tonight on ESPN Classic at 7. From 1993 to 95, they were on top. Relive the glory and the memories.
Don't underestimate the heart of a champion.
Houston Rockets back-to-back. At 8, Real Classic Extra presents Bruce Brown's motorcycle documentary on any Sunday. And a reminder, beginning August 8th, a new show comes to ESPN Classic. Every weeknight, Classic Now takes breaking news and looks at it through the eyes of yesterday. Classic Now with host Josh Elliott. Only on ESPN Classic.
If you've got broadband, you're ready to save. Visit Vonage.com/free offer or call 1-800-925-4VON. And for limited time, get your first month free. Also available at these retailers.
Own a timeshare or campground membership? Turn it into cash.
Timeshares Only got us our full asking price before our next monthly payment was due.
Timeshares Only is the nation's largest, #1 most successful timeshare agency, representing properties from the biggest names in the industry.
No one sells more timeshares.
Call now and receive a free information kit, including 10 secrets to timeshares. You owe it to yourself to work with the best.
Don't delay. Call 800-789-0044.
There's Doubleday Field, just off Main Street in Cooperstown, a block or 2 away from the Hall of Fame itself. We're back here in Cooperstown. Let's take a look at the career of Ryne Sandburg. In 1984, he was the National League MVP, and what a marvelous season. 200 hits, 19 triples, 19 home runs, 32 stolen bases, all at a second base, and a man who played an excellent second base. Won 9 straight Gold Gloves, an outstanding fielder, incredible fielding percentage as well, a 10-time All-Star, including one there at Wrigley Field. Most Gold Gloves by a second baseman. Sandburg now #2 behind Roberto Alomar, the all-time great and Hall of Famer. Bill Mazeroski with 8. Frank White with 8 as well. We're back in Cooperstown to the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Cub fans are ready. Red Sox fans are ready. We're ready too. We're back right after this.
Are you tired of wearing food in your lap? Does that old-fashioned TV tray have you painfully hunched over? When you need to get closer, there's TableMate. TableMate makes whatever you're doing more comfortable. Its ingenious design allows you to sit back, relax, and slide the table right up to your body. You'll love getting close to TableMate. Whether it's eating, reading, or writing, TableMate will serve your family well. Ouch, cross-legged trays force you to the edge, but TableMate slides to you for more comfort. It easily adjusts to 6 different heights and 3 comfortable angles. It's like having 18 tables in one. TableMate's extra-large surface transforms from a kid's art easel to a yummy snack server in a snap. Converts from a convenient card table to the most comfortable laptop workstation you'll ever find. And when you're done, it folds flat for storage or stacks for easy access. TableMate is extremely lightweight, yet strong enough to hold up to 50 pounds and still slides with the touch of a finger. Amazing! Use TableMate to tailgate, poolside, on the boat or RV. It's the most portable table you'll ever use. You could spend over $250 on different tables to do what just one TableMate can, but you won't pay that. Call now and get the incredible TableMate for only $29.95. But it gets better. For our special TV customers, we'll also include this remote control organizer, a $20 value free. It's ideal for keeping all your remotes in one safe place. It conveniently fits over any armrest and even stores your TV books and snacks. Yours free. TableMate comes with a lifetime replacement guarantee. If it ever breaks, buckles, or bends, we'll replace it free for life. You get the TableMate remote organizer and the lifetime guarantee, an $80 value, all for just $29.95. And when you call, ask how to get a TableMate free. Call now.
Call 1-800-452-6777 to order your TableMate for $29.95 and find out how you can get another TableMate free. This incredible offer won't last. Call 1-800-452-6777.
Back here in Cooperstown, Lake Otsego there. We return here in Cooperstown, New York. Brian Kenny and Tim Kirkchin here with you. Again, always impressive to get the roll call of the Immortals. It was a lot of fun, Tim. Right now, let's go back down to this, the ceremonies, which are beginning right now and continuing right now. Gary Thorne and the chairman of the Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, Jane Forbes Clark.
Welcome to Cooperstown, and welcome to the greatest baseball weekend of the year. Many of you have traveled a very long way to be here with us to welcome and to honor our 2 new Hall of Fame members, Wade Boggs and Ryne Sandburg. And our 2 award recipients, Jerry Coleman and Peter Gammons. And we thank you for joining us. Today, in honoring the excellence within our remarkable game, there are 48 Hall of Fame members here to welcome Wade and Ryne as they take their place among these great men. There have only been 260 individuals elected to the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Of the 62 living, 50 of them are on stage today. They embody the definition of a Hall of Famer: character, integrity, sportsmanship, and incredible baseball careers. They are all the living legends of a glorious game with a rich history and a game that belongs to every fan. What every fan knows is how important radio and television broadcasters are to the game. They paint us a picture, a wonderful picture, letting us feel as if we're in the ballpark. They connect us to the players on the field, and they bond the family and friends who enjoy watching and listening to games together. In recognition of this, the National Baseball Hall of Fame has awarded the Ford C. Frick Award for Excellence in Baseball Broadcasting annually since 1978. This year's recipient, the 29th, is Jerry Coleman. He follows in the footsteps of men like Mel Allen, Red Barber, Vin Scully, and the other greats. He's been broadcasting games for 42 seasons, the last 33 years for the San Diego Padres. He has connected so many generations of families and friends who have loved his broadcast together for nearly half a century. I'd like to ask Hall of Fame member Tom Seaver, a broadcaster with the New York Mets, to join me in the presentation to Jerry Coleman.
This is an honor for me. Certainly, Mr. Jerry Coleman has been a friend of mine for over 40 years, and he successfully transitioned from player to broadcaster, and as Jane said, been broadcasting 42 seasons behind the microphone with the Yankees, Angels, Padres, and CBS Radio Game of the Week. He's combined a strong, concise, play-calling style mixed with a few malapropisms to become a real fan favorite. Coleman's broadcast career began in 1960 when he handled pregame interviews on CBS Television's Game of the Week. He joined the Yankees radio team in 1963, broadcasting there until 1969. And then in 1970 and 71, Jerry Coleman hosted the California Angels pregame shows, and he started calling San Diego games in 1972, where 33 years later he remains as a local and a true legend. His run of consecutive years in San Diego was interrupted in 1980 when Coleman left the broadcast booth and went down to the field to serve as the Padres field manager. A staple on CBS Radio's Game of the Week broadcast from 1985 to 1997, Coleman also handled assignments for the Baseball Network from 1994 to 1995, 18 National League Championship Series and 2 World Series assignments highlight Coleman's career on the air. He was the Yankees' second baseman from 1949 to 1957. Through his career, though his career was shortened by the military service, it was very productive. 6 World Series appearances, 1949 Rookie of the Year award in the American League, and the World Series MVP in 1950. Coleman's playing career was interrupted twice because of that military service. A respected Marine pilot during World War II and Korea, he flew 120 missions, received 2 Distinguished Flying Crosses, 13 Air Medals, and 3 Navy citations, and was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. Coleman continues to be a San Diego institution today. They are lucky to have him, and especially for his trademark calls, "Oh, Doctor," and you can hang a star on this man, ladies and gentlemen, Jerry Coleman.
Boy, Timmy, that's quite a life. You heard it from Tom Seaver, quite a man, quite a broadcaster as well.
Very funny, very insightful.
Jerry Coleman joining a select group of the broadcasting greats, and you heard some of the names, but Red Barber, Mel Allen, Ernie Harwell, Kurt Gowdy, Jack Buck, Yankee infielder, World Series MVP in 1950. Let's listen in to Jerry Coleman.
Good afternoon. I am delighted to be here. There's no question about that. One of the greatest days of my life is this day here in Cooperstown. I would like to introduce to you my family, my wife, Maggie, my daughter, Chelsea, my daughter Diane, my granddaughter Courtney, and my grandson Christopher. And a pot full of extended family all over the place. They're over there somewhere. I'm delighted to be here, obviously. I want to thank a few people, obviously. I have to thank you. You have no idea what I've been through the last 3 or 4 days. We've been traveling all over the country to Washington and here to Cooperstown. And to make that particular trip, we needed a special plane. And the best owner in the history of baseball came forth, Mr. John Moores, and donated his plane to get me to Washington, to Albany, and back to San Diego. John, where are you? I wish you'd stand up. Well, he's out there somewhere, and I much appreciate it. Also, I've had a partner in broadcasting for 25 years, and I can't go by without introducing Mr. Ted Leitner, one of the best broadcasters you've never heard. He's great. I do have to introduce one more man. We grew up in San Francisco 65 years ago in the sandlots of San Francisco, joined the Yankees together. This man was a young infielder in 1947, called on by Bucky Harris to pinch hit 4 times. He got 3 hits and a base on balls. Baseball couldn't hold him. He had other things to do. He became a heart specialist in Texas. And the final 11 years of his working life, he became the president of the American League. Dr. Robert Brown, where are you? There he is over there. Certainly my longest and best friend in baseball. I'm delighted to be on this platform with a couple of guys, and the third that's missing, but Yogi Berra and Whitey Ford, and I'm sorry that the Scooter Phil Rizzuto isn't here, who I shared broadcast duties and double play duties with for 16 years in the New York Yankees. But in any event, I'm so happy to be here. But I must tell you, the reason I'm here, and this is the highest honor of my life, I'm here because my peers put me here. My fellow broadcasters brought me in. Wherever you are, whoever you are, God bless you and thank you so much. When you think about this, as I do, you think about in the beginning. Well, rather rocky now that I look back on it. In the beginning, the first job I had was to do the interview on the pregame show on the CBS television network. There were 25 million to 30 million people watching. I didn't know where the microphone was, anything. I was out there like a you-know-what, nothing. And I had a floor manager who counted me down. 5 minutes, 4.5, and on down. And finally, when he pointed to me, my knees turned to mush, and I had Red changed. He says, my interview guest over here. I looked at Red, and I said something very incisive like, well, how's it going, Red? And he talked for 5 minutes. And he didn't stop for 5 minutes. And finally, the floor manager said, wrap it up, wrap it up. And I said, now back to Pee Wee Reese and Dizzy Dean. Red, you know how close you came to getting kissed right on the spot. The next exciting moment I had in broadcasting took place in Kansas City. A hot day like this, twice as hot, humid, and so forth, and broadcasters on television took off their jackets, and in this case, their pants, to stay cool. And don't laugh yet, it gets worse. And finally, I had to go from the radio booth to the television booth, which I did, a little catwalk. I went right across there, and it was wonderful, and I'm sitting down and doing the game happily, and all of a sudden, whoop, a hand on my shoulder. I turned around, there was a policeman. He said, put on your pants. Some woman had complained. I didn't think my legs were that bad, to be honest with you. So that was the next emotional moment I had. But the best one came in Cleveland, doubleheader, Yankees, Indians, and my job as a junior man on the broadcast team of Red Barber, Mel Hall, and Phil Rizzuto was to go down and get the starting pitchers. So I went down, I saw Bertie Tevich. I said, Bertie, who's starting? He said, McDowell and Kralik. So up I go. I said, McDowell and Kralik, guys, let's go for the game. So we're going along having a wonderful... One thing that did puzzle me at the time was Sam McDowell was a rather erratic left-hander with great speed, and today he was really on the ball, hitting the spots and doing a great job. And we're talking about it. And finally, in the fourth inning, from New York, from KPIX, came this, "We think that's Jack Kralik." Bob Neal was over to the left. I said, "Bob, who's pitching?" And I can still see the words, Jack Kralik. Well, that put me in the Guinness Book of Records, most inning wrong pitcher for Jerry Coleman. Not many people can make that statement. Also, I like to tell you this is a lifetime joy of mine. I've been in baseball my entire adult life, and I loved every minute of it. The road, the journey is incredible. I've done clinics in Europe. Stan Musial made that one. Remember that one? He remembers, yes. We were all over the place. I was in Japan broadcasting games. I played exhibition games all through Japan. I played exhibition games in Okinawa, in the Philippines, on Guam, in the Hawaiian Islands, and broadcast games in the Hawaiian Islands. I made a trip to Vietnam for baseball. All of this is for baseball. And I have broadcast and been in every small village and major city in the United States. But today, on this golden day here in Cooperstown, a journey that started 63 years ago, I feel that finally I've come home. Thank you.
Our next presentation is the J.G. Taylor Spink Award. This award has been presented since 1962 for significant contribution to print journalism in baseball. This year's recipient, Peter Gammons. Nationally renowned and adored in his hometown of Boston. And it's my pleasure to introduce T.R. Sullivan, the president of the Baseball Writers Association of America, to make this presentation.
Thank you. Over the past 30 years or so, a comic strip has appeared in hundreds of American newspapers called Shoe. It's about the newspaper business, and it was created by the late, great Pulitzer Prize-winning cartoonist Jeff McNelly. And there are three prominent characters in this strip. The first one, of course, is Shoe, the tough, gruff, rough, hard-bitten, aggressive news editor with a passion for news. Then there's the professor, the columnist, highly educated, a little bit disheveled, witty, articulate, a little bit verbose, but able to write about anything and everything. Finally, there's young Schuyler, the professor's nephew. Very bright, young, frail, determined, pitcher on his baseball team, devoted Chicago Cubs fan, passionate about baseball. The 2004 winner of the J.G. Taylor Spink Award embodies the spirit of all three of these characters. As a baseball journalist, he has maintained a high standard of excellence for the past 30 years. He invented the Sunday Notes, and his news and notes have been required reading in this industry since it began with the Boston Globe in 1969. As a columnist, he is unafraid and fearless about taking on the issues of the game, writing and reporting with brilliant vigor and clarity, and occasionally referring to Robert Frost or his favorite rock and roll band. But most of all, he's like young Schuyler, passionate about baseball, loving it for what it is, the greatest game ever invented, and only taking it to task for not being what it should be. He's a 1969 graduate of the University of North Carolina. He immediately began working for the Boston Globe and covered the Boston Red Sox from 1972 to 1976. His game story from Game 6 of the 1975 World Series is considered a journalistic classic. He went on as a senior writer for Sports Illustrated. He's author of several books, including Beyond the Sixth Game. He's a three-time winner of the National Sports Writer of the Year, and since 1988, he has been working for ESPN and writing for ESPN.com. He may be the most distinguished baseball journalist of this or any other generation. And today, Jeff McNelly would be extremely proud of him. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2004 winner of the J.G. Taylor Spinks Award from the Boston Globe, Sports Illustrated, and ESPN, Peter Gammons.
Well, excuse us while we applaud as well, Timmy. Very well put by TR. He's a pleasure to work with. You have incredible conversations with Peter on and off the air.
There's never been anyone like Peter, Brian, in this respect. He tells me things like, you know, Pat Gillick called me today, you know, and it wasn't that Pat Gillick was returning the call. Pat Gillick was calling Peter Gammons to see what he knew. Believe me, there isn't anyone else in the business that works like Peter Gammons. He's remarkable.
So widely respected in the game, but also, and just to give people, you know, a little inside baseball, widely respected among his peers as well. Let's listen in to Peter Gammons.
He's staying. Steve Jobs' advice to the graduating class at Stanford this year was, find what you love. Well, I'm here today because I found what I love. Understand, I grew up in a household where when I got home from school, my mother greeted with me, can you believe all they got for Jim Pearsall was Vic Wertz and Gary Geiger? My brother Ned weaned me on respect and reverence for the history and the texture of the game. My sister Ann hit me fungos, and it was all in a small town in New England where the Red Sox home opener was an acceptable legal excuse to leave school at 10 a.m. My father found what he loved in music and teaching and the goodness of man. He and Paul Wright, my godfather, teacher, and mentor, remain the two greatest men I've ever known. And teachers like Junie O'Brien and Jake Congleton taught me by the time I was 18 so that I knew my role models and my life's mission statement were divine. When this award was announced, Mike Barnicle left me a simple message. Tom Winship would be very proud. Winship was the editor of the Boston Globe, a branch Rickey of a man who changed the newspaper business in Boston and opened the world for kids who were dying for a chance. Mine came as a summer intern in the summer of 1968. It started the day Robert F. Kennedy was shot. Now, in those days, you had a morning globe and an afternoon globe, and when I walked in, I was introduced to my fellow intern, Bob Ryne, Basketball Hall of Fame, and we were told to call every team in business, ask them what they would do for Robert F. Kennedy, and write a story. We did. The 3:30 late stocks edition came up, and there on the front page of the entire paper, Mr. Ryan and Mr. Gammons had their first bylines. We went to the Erie pub, raised a couple of 10-cent drafts, and decided, you know what? We found what we love. My career essentially has been very simple. The Globe, Sports Illustrated, the Globe, Sports Illustrated, ESPN. Because I've been fortunate enough to work for extraordinary people. There are hundreds, maybe thousands I should thank, but it was Tom Winship and Fran Rosa who stuck their neck out to hire a kid who hadn't even graduated from college. Mark Mulvoy, who twice hired me at Sports Illustrated. Vince Doria, who brought me back to the Globe, and who anyone who ever worked for him believes is the best sports editor, if not the best boss who ever lived. And John Walsh, who had the crack-brained idea of putting a sports writer into television, because as one of the business's most creative visionaries, he understood that information is king. I'm very proud to say today, much of what ESPN is because of John Walsh. And there are hundreds of people that have gone out of print, out of the print profession, to follow me to ESPN because of Walsh. But I'm not here as a television personality, but as an ink-stained wretch. And publishers and news editors have no clue. They have no understanding that the baseball beat is the toughest beat in the newspaper business. It means severe personal sacrifices. A few years ago, Jason Stark and I decided over a 25-year period, we probably talked to one another more than we talked to our wives. And no one has sacrificed more than my wife, Gloria, who saved me in an unpredictable storm of a business that knows no holidays. The baseball beat today is much tougher than when I was traveling with the Red Sox for the Globe. There's far less access. 10 times the bodies in the clubhouse, the internet, radio, television have broadened the baseball informational universe. And in our business, and I'm proud to say, it keeps producing generation after generation of young reporters who are tireless, good, and fair. Throughout my career, I have tried to be guided by one principle, that because I am human, I have the right to like people. But because I'm professional, I have no right to dislike anyone. People in New England always ask me, what was it like walking out there on the field after Aaron Boone hit his home run? Well, to be honest, my first reaction was I was ecstatic, because I've known Aaron Boone since he was 13 years old, and that's my privilege. My second reaction, I saw Tim Wakefield, and I felt despondent, because he's one man who did not deserve that. But as I walked out on the field to try to go get interviews, I turned to my producer, Charlie Moynihan, and I said, you know what? Look around here. I just got paid to cover the greatest game ever played in the greatest sporting venue in the world. I think I'm the luckiest man on earth. Jerry Coleman, I'm honored to be in Cooperstown with you. War hero, World Series MVP, announcer, gentlemen. Ryne Sandburg, when I think of you, I think of a man who had a 40 home run season, a 50 steal season, a 200 hit season, and all the ego of a clubhouse kid. But to be here the day Wade Boggs is inducted is a special thing for me. This is a guy who played 7 minor league seasons, hit 3 something ridiculous 6 straight years, went through 3 Rule 5 drafts, and kept saying, my success will be measured in terms of dealing with adversity. In the last half century, Boggs is the oldest position player to debut in the major leagues and make the Hall of Fame. He is the model for overcoming adversity of all kinds. Wade, remember that afternoon in 1986 when you and I were driving Ted Williams over to have that night of discussing hitting with Don Mattingly? Ted leaned forward in the car and he said, hey, Wade, you ever smell the burn of the bat? Well, there are very few people have. But I never forgot that. And when the All-Century team gathered around Williams at Fenway before the '99 All-Star game, Ted called McGuire in. Later they asked him, well, what did they ask you? He retold the story. He said, have you ever smelled the burn of the bat? There were 6 National League players in that room at the time around McGuire, and they were all going, what is he talking about? Well, let's face it, the burning of the bat is the lexicon of the gods. And to stand in front of these Hall of Fame players is standing in front of baseball deities. And yet, I feel so fortunate to have known so many of them as humans. I think of Carlton Fisk, and I think of 8 to 10 hours a day of rehab in the winter of 1973-74, mostly at the Manchester YMCA, to come back from a knee injury that very few humans ever could have recovered from. I think of Eddie Murray, and I think of the hours I took watching him take BP, which allowed me to know that all those thousands of clutch hits were only by design, not chance. I think of Robin Yount, and I know the fastest he ever got tied to first base was 3.9, the slowest, 4.0. And I just remember George Brett always saying he wanted his career to end on a ground ball to second base and to bust his hump down the line. I think of Mike Schmidt mowing and lining a field in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, so he could coach his son's high school team. Or the great Sandy Koufax telling me, you know, I lived in Los Angeles the way I lived in Stonington, Maine. I think of Bob Gibson's handshake. I think of Tony Perez, and I think he lived a quarter mile from where I live in Brookline, Massachusetts. And to this day, not 2 weeks go by when someone doesn't say, you know, how are Tony and Patuca Perez? They're the greatest people who ever lived in this neighborhood. I think of the hours, and I thank Jim Palmer and Tom Seaver for discussing pitching with me. And never forget the day that Orlando Cepeda had 4 hits, 4 doubles in a game at Fenway Park and could barely walk. I think of Reggie Jackson, and I think of the two of us wandering around Kenmore Square in Boston after the Angels had lost the 1986 ALCS. Outrage, because Reggie Jackson's team had lost. I think of Dennis Eckersley, and I think of his start in the 1978 Boston Massacre, when seeing that nearly 100 writers surrounded Frank Duffy because he made an error, he started pulling him off. He shouted, he didn't load the bases, he didn't hang the 0-2 slider, get over to my locker and talk to the man who has the L next to his name. Because Dennis Eckersley defines teammate. And I think of Kirby Puckett in one of my favorite days in baseball, before the lights were still off in the Metrodome at 2 o'clock in the afternoon before Game 6 of the '91 World Series. And Puck walked up to me and said, Petey, he's the only guy in the world that ever called me Petey. Petey, get up in your sports center tonight and tell him Puck's going to jack the Twins up on his back. Well, 4 hits, a game-saving catch, a home run, and Puck took us to the greatest 7th game of the World Series that I'll ever experience. 10 innings, 1-0, Jack Morris. These players are great players whose success is all measured in overcoming adversity. But no one had to be a great person. No one ever had to be a great player to be a great person stored in my memory bank. So I think from John Curtis to Bill Campbell to Jerry Remy, Buckethead Schmidt to Bruce Hurst, Ellis Burks to George Lombard, I've been lucky to know thousands of people who love the game every much as I do. In 1985, the Globe sent me to Meridian, Mississippi to do a story on Dennis Oil Can Boyd's background. I had dinner with his father, Willie James, who was once a Negro League pitcher and maintained a field and a team in Meridian. And he was telling me that he financed his life in baseball by being a landscaper. And he told me a story of a day in 1964 when he was landscaping the yard of the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan. And he remembered seeing the cars come up, and they all rolled up the street, up the road to Philadelphia, Mississippi to take care of some civil rights workers. Mr. Boyd looked me in the eye, and he said, you know what? This is what makes this country great. Today, the Grand Dragon is destitute and crippled with arthritis, and my boy, Dennis Boyd, is pitching in the major leagues for the Boston Red Sox. In my mind, the Boyd family represents baseball's place in American society. Jackie Robinson was in the big leagues 7 years before Brown versus the Board of Education, and we should never forget it. Just as we should never forget that he's the most important athlete of the 20th century, arguably one of the 10 most important men in that century. I remember waking up to read the story of Roberto Clemente's death, realizing that a great baseball idol died taking medical, food, and clothing supplies to earthquake victims in Nicaragua. I was with Dave Stewart at 8:30 the morning after he won the 3rd game of the '89 earthquake series as he crawled in the rubble of the collapsed Cypress structure to hand out coffee and donuts to volunteers searching for bodies. I've walked the streets of Mataguayaba, Dominican Republic with Pedro Martinez and viewed the churches, school, athletic complex, daycare center, and houses that he's built for poor people in his hometown. I was not far from Fidel Castro when he stood for the American national anthem at attention, his hat across his heart, because baseball came to Havana in 1999. And I remember when George Bush strode out towards the mound at Yankee Stadium before the 3rd game of the 2001 World Series, weeks removed from the World Trade Center attacks, and turned to Carl Ravitch and Hal Reynolds and said, we're among 55,000 people who just experienced one of the great chills of anyone's lifetime. When Bud Selig asked us to embrace the World Cup, it's not about T-shirts in Taiwan. It's about celebrating that baseball, more than any sport, is who we are. It has reflected our immigration patterns, our history, because we're all immigrants. We should want the world to see us, not for our politics, not for our business, but for baseball as our metamorphic soul. Inclusive, not exclusive. Diverse, not divisive. Fraternal, not fractionalized. If any of you are familiar with the Cape Cod League, you might have heard of a guy named Arnie Allen, a special needs gentleman who for 40 years was a bat boy with the team in Falmouth. He was diagnosed with brain cancer in the summer of 2002. 72 hours later, a duffel bag of Angels memorabilia arrived, courtesy of 2 former Falmouth players, Darren Erstad and Adam Kennedy. Of course, the Angels went on to the World Series in 2002 and won that incredible 6th game, coming back from a 5-0 deficit in the 8th inning. And before Game 7, Erstad and Kennedy pulled me aside before they went out to stretch. They told me, well, we know that you're going to be speaking at the Hall of Fame inductions in 2 weeks on the Cape. And they said in unison, as you speak, could you do us a favor? Arnie will be there probably for the last time. Could you just tell him that Darren Erstad and Adam Kennedy were thinking of him before they went out and won the World Series? Every day at the ballpark for me, there's been something that's been great, whether it's Ozzie Smith fielding ground balls, just seeing Willie Mays, watching Tom Seaver throw a 3-1 off-speed pitch to Don Baylor and winning his 300th game, or seeing George Brett go third tank off Goose Gossage in 1980. But more important, what I've taken from all these years is the knowledge that the people who play this game inherently care so much about that game, their fellow players and those who love it. I'm very fortunate to have had baseball a part of my life for 35 years. I thank you, Gloria, and all my family for standing aside me and getting me through it. I thank my fellow baseball writers for their friendship, for their support, and the maintenance of a great and proud profession. The game is also about players, and I thank the thousands of players I've known for making this ride better than any I ever could have imagined. Ted Williams used to tell me, Bush, someday you want to walk down the street and have people say, you have the greatest job in America. Well, Ted, it happens almost every day. And for that, I thank all of you, everyone who read or listened to me, allowed me to try to be your eyes and ears, that allowed me to find what I love and hold on to it long enough to experience this, the greatest day of my professional career. Thank you.
Many moments of chills, beautifully put by Peter Gammons. We expected beautiful stories, and we got them. Beautifully put. Peter Gammons saying, I have the right to like people. It's a pleasure and an honor for us to be here and see Peter Gammons honored by the Baseball Hall of Fame. When we come back, one of the all-time greats, maybe the all-time great, Stan the Man in the 7th inning stretch.
ESPN Classics Hall of Fame, presented by Super 8 Motels. See you along the way.
Somewhere between where you are and where you're going, there's a Super 8.
I think we're right about here.
See you along the way.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. 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 We've got our ladies on now.
Revolution, get down. Revolution, get down. Revolution, get down. Don't treat me like I was born for nothing, 99. All or nothing, get down. All or nothing, get down. All or nothing, get
It's like I got the world in my hands, because I'm doing what I want to do. It's like I got the world in my hands, because I'm doing what I want to do. I know you feeling that.
Back here in Cooperstown, the huge crowd, again, hearing the eloquence and grace of Peter Gammons. Jerry Coleman also honored by the Baseball Hall of Fame. We'll be back, Wade Boggs and Ryne Sandburg, and their induction speeches. We'll be back in Cooperstown, New York, the ancestral home of baseball, when we come back right after this.
tipping his cap to all sectors of the stadium as he bangs a single into right field to keep the hitting streak alive at 44 in a row.
July 31st, 1978.
A great sportscaster once promised to tell it like it is. Not quite. Because first you have to tell it like it was. Every weeknight, Classic Now will take breaking sports news and give it to you with a deep perspective and backstory. Are today's stars innovators or imitators? From yesterday to today and back, all in one show. I'm Josh Elliott. Join me for Classic Now, where the past is always present.
Premiering 7 Eastern, August 8th, only on ESPN Classic.
I'm Matthew Lesko, and my new book will tell you how to tell bill collectors to go shoving. My new book shows you 4,000 government programs that you can use to pay your bills and get out of debt forever. Get $2,000 to pay your rent or mortgage, or $600 to pay your phone bill, or even $7,000 to pay your credit card bills. I've been researching government grants for over 25 years, and government officials don't even know about these programs. And you've never seen a book that's so easy to use. Here's a program to pay for your prescription drug bills, or a program to pay for your living expenses, or programs to pay for your housing bills, apartment bills, or even your student loans. Over 80% of the people in the United States, including millionaires, are eligible. Isn't it about time you get rid of your debt once and for all? If you don't use these programs, somebody else will. So call now and get free money to pay your bills.
Call 1-800-754-0077 now.
Back here in Cooperstown, New York, Brian Kenny and Tim Kirchin spending the afternoon with you. We've heard from Jerry Coleman and Peter Gammons as well. We're getting ready for the induction speeches of Wade Boggs and Ryne Sandburg. And I think Peter put it very well in that you talk about some of these players, and I think people think, Timmy, that these guys are all destined for greatness. That's not the case. Everyone up on that stage thought at some point they weren't going to make it. They weren't going to stick around. Wade Boggs waited a long time to get into even the major leagues.
Right. His first year in pro ball, his manager told him after he hit 262, I think we need to send you home. And Wade Boggs just wouldn't give up. Spent 7 years in the minor leagues. He hit way over 300 virtually every one of those years. And once he got to the big leagues, he still hurt. Not fast enough, not a good enough fielder, doesn't throw well enough, and yet he continued to persevere and ended up being one of the great hitters of the last 50 years just because he willed himself to do that.
A 12-time All-Star. Also, after the batting titles, of course, with the Boston Red Sox, he goes to the New York Yankees, spent 5 years there. And, Tim, I don't think he gets enough credit for being one of the players that really helped us set the tone for the Yankees' plate selection that really led to them having a lineup that would become yet another Yankee dynasty.
Well, ultimately, that's how they beat the Braves in the '96 series, is they were more patient than any team the Braves had seen. You know, with Glavine and Maddox and those guys just work in the corners. If you were over-aggressive with them, you were going to lose. And Boggs brought that along with Cecil Fielder. And Boggs was talking yesterday that the biggest bat of his career, he didn't even swing the bat. And that was the 3-2 walk he drew off of Steve Avery that gave the Yankees the lead in Game 5 of that series that ended up propelling the Yankees to the World Series. A walk for Wade Boggs. How surprising, huh?
That's it. You know, Boggs, again, a man who had an on-base percentage that we view now as out of this world. 1 year, he did decide he was going to hit some more home runs. It was also a good year to do that, where the ball was a little tighter in 1987. But he had some power now and then. This wasn't just a punch-and-Judy hitter.
No, he always had power. We all knew if Wade Boggs had wanted to hit homers, he could have hit 25 home runs a year. But that was not the way that he played the game, and that's not the way that his swing was designed. He tried to keep the ball out of the air, and in 1985, indeed, he popped out to the infield in fair territory one time the entire season. That was Wade Boggs.
that is incredible. You know, I mentioned, Lou Brock got away from the Cub fans and went to the Cardinals, of course, and was a great postseason performer in the introductions. You heard that earlier here. Ryne Sandburg got away from the Phillies and got to the Cubs, and people are still incredulous. How did that deal go down, Timmy?
Well, here's what happened. Larry Bowa was playing with the Phillies, and they promised to give him a 3-year contract. And then they decided, we're not going to give you a 3-year contract, and that angered Larry Bowa, so he said, I want out of here. So they said, all right, we'll get rid of you. Where do you want to go? He said, well, I'll go to the Cubs. So they work out a deal for Ivan DeJesus, and then Bill Giles of the Phillies and the Cubs are talking, and the Cubs say, we want Ryne Sandburg also. And the Phillies said, all right, you can have him too. And that's how it happened. That's how Ryne Sandburg Sandburg, ended up going to the Cubs. He goes there. He plays center field his first spring there and plays beautifully. Then they moved him to third base. He played beautifully there. They acquired Ryne. They moved him over to second base, and that's where he became a Hall of Famer.
Ryne Sandburg, 16 seasons with the Cub. Again, 9-time Gold Glove Award winner. It was earlier, as you saw during the roll call of the Immortals, Stan the Man, Stan Musial came up, and he was ready to go. And when Stan Musial says he's ready to play the harmonica, usually you let him go. But now we are ready. Let's go to the stage once again. Gary Thorne
Ladies and gentlemen,
the all-time great, Stan the Man, Stan Musial.
7th inning stretch time. A tradition here at Cooperstown. He digs out the harmonica. You are about to be part of one of the great traditions, not only of the Hall of Fame, but of baseball. Stan Musial, it is all yours.
We're going to sing a song we all know and love, Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
That was great. Thank you, Stan. I would now like to invite Commissioner Bud Selig to join me for the next presentation. And I'd like to call your attention to the video monitor for a short presentation about our 2005 inductee, Wade Boggs.
In 1985, a frustrated opponent suggested a new method to defend Wade Boggs. Station 9 fielders in a line behind second base, then have them scatter in all directions when the pitcher released the ball. It wouldn't have worked. Not much did against Wade Boggs.
3,000 base hits for Wade Boggs, and he hits a home run to do it.
He was a hitting machine. He amassed 3,010 hits. His career average was .328, 18th best since 1900. In 1988, he became the first player in nearly 60 years to hit .350 or better 4 years in a row. He had 200 hits in 7 consecutive seasons. Only Wee Willie Keeler, who played mostly in the 1800s, had a longer streak in the history of baseball. Boggs is one of only 8 players to win 5 batting titles. 4 of them came in a row.
I've always felt that I had a gift, and my gift was the ability to play baseball.
But Boggs was more than a singles hitter. His 578 doubles are the 14th most all time. He's one of 9 players with 500 doubles, 3,000 hits, and a .320 average. 8 are in the Hall of Fame. Tony Gwynn will be there in 2 years. Boggs' plate discipline was legendary. His 1,412 walks are the 22nd most ever. He led the league in on-base percentage 6 times. He struck out only 745 times in 18 seasons. Sammy Sosa had more than that in a 4.5-year stretch.
From the Boston Red Sox, third baseman Wade Boggs.
Boggs made 12 All-Star teams. He started 11 times, tying Brooks Robinson for the most by a third baseman. Boggs won 2 Gold Gloves by willing himself to be a good defensive player, taking extra ground balls before every game at exactly the same time, 3:16 p.m. He was a man of routines and superstitions, eating chicken before every game. His routine included, it seemed, a couple of hits and a walk every game. He was Rod Carew, only slightly better. And, like Carew, Boggs made it to Cooperstown on his first try.
As chairman of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, it's my honor, Wade, to welcome you into the Hall of Fame family.
And Tim, you know this means so much to Wade Boggs, his knowledge of the history of the game, and
Wade
just,
Anthony Boggs.
just means the world to him.
Right, he's going to be very emotional today. All kidding aside, George Brett was saying yesterday that he's got the over-under at 2 minutes of Boggs breaking down and crying before he can finish this speech. And Brett said, I'm taking the under. Now, last weekend, Boggs threw out the first ball at a Devil Rays game, and they brought his high school coach in to catch him. But Boggs didn't know the guy was going to show up, and he hadn't seen him in years. And Boggs broke down and cried that day. That's how emotional it was. And he looked at the PR man, Rick Vaughn, and said, I can't even get through this. How am I going to get through my speech at Cooperstown? We'll find out soon. But the bottom line is the compassion and the passion for the game is why he's so emotional. He loves it so much.
And Peter, as Peter Gammons had mentioned earlier in his speech, this is a man who spent years in the minor leagues, and at the time, had the high batting average, had the on base, wasn't as valued at the time. It took him a long time to get into the bigs.
Well, really, when people keep saying yesterday, when people keep telling you that you're not good enough to play in the big leagues, you're not fast enough, you don't throw well enough, you're not a good enough defensive player, some people might give up. He just kept saying, I'm going to show these people that I can do it. And once he got there, he hit immediately, and then there was nothing else you could do with him but put him out there every day.
Wade Boggs up there. Final photographs being taken with Jane Forbes Clark, chairman of the Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, Commissioner Bud Selig, Dale Petrovsky, the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Wade Boggs, Ryne Sandburg still to go. Let's go to the stage right now, and Wade Boggs. Well, Wade Boggs there with another round of photographs on one side. Again, 18 years, 11 with Boston, 5 with the Yankees. Then went back home, played for Tampa Bay for 2 years, 5-time batting champion, 12-time All-Star. And again, now one of 2 to go into Cooperstown in the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2005.
Like Keith Jackson said, whoa, Nelly. Thank you, Commissioner Selig. I'd like to first start off by thanking Jane Forbes Clark, Dale Petrovsky, Jeff Idelson, Kim Bennett, and all the wonderful staff at the Hall of Fame for making these last 7 months so enjoyable and allowing Debbie and I and our family to become to the newest members of the Hall of Fame family. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. Thank you to the Baseball Writers of America. Without your vote, I'm not here. Thank you very much. I sincerely thank you. Jerry Coleman, Peter Gammons, congratulations on being recognized in your field of expertise. Well deserved. Rhino, congratulations to you and Margaret and your family. I couldn't think of anyone that I would rather share this honor with than with you. Thank you. Thanks to all the Hall of Famers for coming back this weekend to share this special day with Rhino and myself. Thank you very much. I stand here today incredibly humbled, extremely overwhelmed, and so very proud. Humbled by the fact that never in a million years would I ever thought that I would be on the same stage with all these great Hall of Famers and enshrined into the National Baseball Hall of Fame. Overwhelmed by the great turnout of all these super fans that love baseball so much for coming out here and enjoying this honor with me. And so very proud to be one of the newest members of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. This journey started about 42 years ago in a little town of Brunswick, Georgia. Looking back on those days, in Little League, the Hall of Fame is not even a blinking star. But through baseball travels and moving up the ladder, that star begins to flicker. Moving to Tampa in '69, playing Little League in Bayshore, for Dr. Wolf, who is here today, my first manager. Moving on to Palmacia, playing for David Fife at Plant High School. And I remember that June night in '76 when I got drafted by the Boston Red Sox. And George Digby, a visionary, one of the greatest scouts because he believed in me, a little scrawny, skinny kid from Tampa, Florida. He saw something that a lot of other people passed up on. On that night, my dad, Coach Fife, went outside after the offer, talked it over, came back inside. I said, "Where do I sign?" I said, "Let's go." My dad said, "You're gonna have to make a choice, son, college ball or pro ball." Well, I made that choice in 1976, and it was off to Elmira, where my professional journey started with Dick Berardino, one of the toughest managers I ever played for. I grew up a lot that year. Elmira was the first time that I decided to come see the Hall of Fame in 1976. And who would have ever thought, as an 18-year-old kid, my first year in pro ball, that one day my plaque would be hanging in Cooperstown. Moving up the ladder from Winston-Salem to Bristol to Pawtucket, in 1982, finally making it to the big leagues. The one dream that every little leaguer shares is making it to the big leagues. I want to thank the late Mrs. Yockey. She was a great lady. Not only a great friend, but a great owner. My wife and I, Debbie, would like to thank her. Ralph Houck, my first manager, was the first guy to believe in me and had the confidence to put me on the major league roster. John McNamara in 1986 took us to the World Series. He's a great friend, and he helped me so much through a tough time. I had a fantastic hitting coach in Walt Reniak. I believe he's here today. Biggest motivator I ever had. He was able to get the most out of me each and every day. One guy that I wish was here right now, Ted Williams, helped me so much. Our long talks, not about hitting, but about fishing. One of Ted's passions, and I wish he was here today to share this with me, because I owe so much to Ted Williams. And then there's Johnny Pesky, hitting me countless numbers of ground balls and improved my fielding so much. Bill Fisher, our pitching coach for Boston at the time, countless hours of batting practice, the best BP I ever had, 4 straight batting titles with Bill. Thanks, Bill. My journey took a surprising turn in 1992. I left Boston, and who would have ever thought I would wind up with the New York Yankees? The owner of the New York Yankees, Mr. George Steinbrenner, who I have the greatest respect for, I want to thank him for giving me the opportunity to win that special ring in 1996. Each player has a job to do, and when everything comes together, through teamwork and hard work of everybody, of the 25 players, that special dream comes true, just like it did in '96. So when you wear the same socks for every game, or you have chicken every day, believe me, I have a few superstitions and they work. Clete Boyer, who was also here today, took my fielding to a Gold Glove level. One of the most memorable moments I ever had was 1994 and getting a call 12:30 at night from Don Mattingly. That made it special. It's not only a great accomplishment for me, but Donnie wanted to be the one to tell me. In 1998, I wound up in Tampa. Expansion team with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Vince Namoli, I'd like to thank you for giving me that opportunity to come home to play in front of my family and friends. It was a special time for me, thank you. My train ride began in 1976 in Elmira. with many stops along the way. But today, that train has pulled into Cooperstown, New York. And I've found a new family here at the Hall of Fame. And my wife and I believe this is the beginning of another baseball journey. At this time, I'd like to thank a few family and friends, my agent, Alan Nero, and all the hardworking people at Coordinated Sports. Thank you for all the job you've done for my wife and family. Kim Morton and Kathy Leonard for all the work you do for my foundation. Couldn't do it without you. Andrea Herm, our nanny for 25 years, taking care of the kids. It took a load off of Debbie and I. Thank you very much. The Paricas, the Leonards, and the Herms, our extended family. Daddy, I wouldn't be up here without you. I owe everything to you. My mentor, my idol. Anyone can be a father, but it takes someone special to be a dad. And that's why I call you Dad, because you are so special to me. You taught me the game, and you taught me how to play it right. Thank you, Dad. Along with my stepmom, Pat, thank you for being here and enjoying this wonderful day, because without you, I wouldn't be standing up here. My wife, Debbie, thank goodness she cooked that chicken all those years. That was great. Honey, I love you. You're my rock, my best friend. I love you. I love you. You're so special. You're the glue that holds everything together, sweetheart. Our daughter, Megan, I love you, honey. Our son, Brett. My brother Wayne and his family are here. My sister Ann is here along with her husband Warren, my mother-in-law Hildred Berticelli, my wife's sister Betty and her family, my wife's brother David and his family, and the rest of my family. There's one person that's not here today. She should be, but she's here in spirit. Growing up all those years and taking me to Little League. 1986, June 17th was the last game she missed. She was the rock of the family. She had to wear 2 hats because of my father being in the Air Force. Mom, I love you. I miss you. I wish you were here. In closing, thank you. In closing, I want to say one special thing. I am living proof that dreams come true. In life, so many things are taken for granted. But one thing I can honestly say is that I took every day, enjoyed the game of putting on that uniform and playing the great game of baseball. I have a message for the young kids. Life is about obstacles. Endeavors in life are not to be overlooked. Our lives are not determined by what happens to us, but how we react to what happens. Not but what life brings us, but the attitude we bring to life. A positive attitude causes a chain reaction of positive thoughts, events, and outcomes. It is a catalyst, and it sparks extraordinary results. One final thought. Just remember, baseball is just a game. Whether it's your second year in Little League or your second year in the big leagues, you should always play the game with passion, play the game with heart, and play the game you loved. And possibly one day, your dreams can come true just like mine did so many years ago when I first started dreaming about playing baseball and making it to the big leagues. Thank you to all my friends for coming a long way from Tampa and around the United States. Thank you, and may God bless you. Thank you.
I would like to ask Commissioner Seelig to join me again up here for our next presentation and to call your attention to the video monitor for a short presentation about our 2005 inductee, Ryne Sandburg.
There was a certain elegance to Ryne Sandburg. The game didn't come easily to him, but he didn't make it look hard, be it gliding for a ground ball or hitting a home run, which he did equally well. The combination of power and grace got him to Cooperstown on his third try. It shouldn't have taken that long. Sandburg was the National League's premier second baseman for 10 years for the Cubs, who acquired him along with Larry Boa in a trade in 1981 for Ivan DeJesus. Sandburg made 10 All-Star teams. He won 9 straight Gold Gloves, the longest streak at that position. His .989 fielding percentage is the highest all-time at second base. His 123 consecutive errorless games at second is a major league record. And he could hit. When Sandburg blasted 2 home runs off Cardinals closer Bruce Sutter in one game, St. Louis manager Whitey Herzog exaggerated only slightly when he called Sandburg the best player he'd ever seen.
That was a game that changed me as a ball player. It gave me a lot of confidence. It showed me that I could do something special.
In 1984, Sandburg won the NL MVP with 74 extra base hits, the most by an NL second baseman since Rogers Hornsby. In 1989 and 90, Sandburg finished 4th in the MVP balloting. He led the NL in runs scored each season, became the first second baseman ever to hit 30 homers in consecutive seasons, and joined Hornsby as the only second baseman to hit 300 with 30 homers in the same season. Sandburg finished with 277 homers as a second baseman, a record broken in 2004 by Jeff Kent. Sandburg could run, too. He finished with 344 stolen bases, including 54 in 1985. His career numbers across the board are comparable to almost any second baseman in history. Sandburg, Hornsby, Charlie Gehringer, and Tony Lazzeri are the only Hall of Fame second basemen to achieve these numbers: 280 average, 150 homers, 750 RBIs, and 100 stolen bases. He should have made Cooperstown on the first try. For Sandburg, it was 3 strikes, and he's in.
As chairman of the National Baseball Hall of Fame, it's my honor, Ryne, to welcome you to the Hall of Fame family. And Commissioner Seelig, if you would read Ryne's plaque.
Ryne D. Sandburg, better known as Rhino, Philadelphia, National League, 1981. Chicago Cubs, National League, 1982 to 1994, 1996 through 1997. A sure-handed second baseman with power and speed who dignified the game with his professionalism, quiet leadership, and tireless preparation. Set career records among second basemen for home runs, 277 out of 282 overall, a fielding percentage of .989, consecutive errorless games in a season, 90, and over 2 seasons, 123 games. earned 9 Gold Gloves, led the league in runs scored 3 times, elected to 10 All-Star teams, and named the National League MVP in 1984. Helped the Cubs to 2 division titles, hitting .385 in 10 postseason games. Congratulations, Ryne.
Tim, in speaking to Ryne this weekend, he's not going around thinking, hey, what took so long? He still has a sense of awe and wonder for just getting into the Hall of Fame. He's thrilled to be here no matter what year or when it happened.
And that's the guy that he is. And to borrow from Peter Gammons' brilliant speech today, Sandburg had a 40-homer season, a 50-steal season, and a 200-hit season, and had the ego of a clubhouse kid. And anybody who knows him knows that's exactly the case. Like he told you the other day, he was amazed that he even got to the big leagues. And then in 1984, his MVP year, that's what he finally figured out he belonged. Most guys figured out a little bit before then, but that was the typical Ryne Sandburg.
There's such a huge Cub contingent here. Bill Murray, comedian, an actor, is here, came out, and you could see that the sea of blue. Billy Williams, Fergie Jenkins greeted warmly when they came out because there's so many Cub fans that made a very long trip to be here, Tim.
Absolutely, and we talked a lot about, you know, when the Cubs really took off in this second renaissance of the Cubs, and it was right about '84 when they won the division and a second baseman won the MVP.
Let's go back up to the ceremonies. Here's Ryne Sandburg.
What a beautiful day this is. I stand here today before you humbled and a grateful baseball player. I am truly honored and in awe. Honored to be in a class with my fellow inductee, Wade Boggs. And as I look behind me here, wow, at the greatest players in the history of the game, I am in awe. I know that if I had ever allowed myself to think this was possible, if I had ever taken one day in pro ball for granted, I'm sure I would not be here today. This will come as a shock, I know, but I am almost speechless. The reason I am here, they tell me, is that I played the game a certain way, that I played the game the way it was supposed to be played. I don't know about that, but I do know this. I had too much respect for the game to play it any other way. And if there is a single reason I am here today, it is because of one word: respect. I love to play baseball. I'm a baseball player. I've always been a baseball player. I'm still a baseball player. That's who I am. I love you too. I was a baseball player when I was 10 or 12 years old, pretending to be Willie Stargell or Johnny Bench or Louis Tiant. When my bat was an old fungo, my ball was a plastic golf ball. When the field was the street, and my older brother Dell and I would play all day. I was a baseball player at North Central High School in Spokane, Washington. Even though I was all city in basketball, even when I signed a letter of intent to play quarterback at Washington State. That's why Dell advised me to turn down the chance to play football and sign with the Phillies out of high school. I had too much respect for the game to leave it behind, or to make it my second or third sport in college. Everything I am today, everything I have today, everything I will ever be is because of the game of baseball. Not the game you see on TV or in movies. Baseball, the one we all know. The one we played with wiffle ball bats, pretending to be Yaz or Fisk or Rose. in dirt fields and in alleys. We all know that game. The game fit me because it was right. It was all about doing things right. If you played the game the right way, played the game for the team, good things would happen. That's what I loved most about the game. How a ground out to second with a man on second and nobody out was a great thing. Respect. I was taught coming up in the Phillies organization to be seen and not heard by people like Pete Rose, my hero growing up, and players like Mike Schmidt and Steve Carlton and Manny Trio. I understood that. My parents, Derwent and Elizabeth, who are no longer with us, understood that. My mom was at every single game I played as a kid, rain or shine. My dad always said, keep your nose clean, your mouth shut, and your eyes and ears open, because you might learn something. My sister Meryl and my late brother Lane knew this too. So did my first professional manager, Larry Rojas, a guy who was always in my corner as I climbed through the Phillies organization. Guys like Bill Harper, the scout that signed me, Ken Elmas, my high school coach, P.J. Carey, a Phillies coach. They taught me to respect the game above all else. The fourth major league game I ever saw in person, I was in uniform. Yes, I was in awe. I was in awe every time I walked onto the field. That's respect. I was taught you never ever disrespect your opponent or your teammates, or your organization, or your manager, and never ever your uniform. Make a great play, act like you've done it before. Get a big hit, look for the third base coach, and get ready to run the bases. Hit a home run, put your head down, drop the bat, run around the bases. Because the name on the front is a lot more important than the name on the back. That's respect. My managers like Don Zimmer and Jim Fry, they always said I made things easy on them by showing up on time, never getting into trouble, being ready to play every day, leading by example, being unselfish. I made things easy on them. These things they talk about, playing every day, that was my job. I had too much respect for them and for the game to let them down. I was afraid to let them down. I didn't want to let them down, or let the fans down, or my teammates, or my family, or myself. I had too much respect for them to let them down. Dallas Green brought me to Chicago. And without him, who knows? I couldn't let him down. I owed him too much. I had too much respect for him to let him down. People like Harry Carey and Don Zimmer used to compare me. They used to compare me to Jackie Robinson. Can you think of a better tribute than that? But Harry, who was a huge supporter of mine, used to say how nice it is that a guy who can hit 40 homers or steal 50 bases or drive in 100 runs is the best bunter on the team. Nice. That was my job. When did it become okay for someone to hit home runs and forget how to play the rest of the game? When we went home every winter, they warned us not to lift heavy weights because they didn't want us to lose flexibility. They wanted us to be baseball players, not only home run hitters. I played high school football at 185 pounds and played big league baseball at 182. I'd get up to maybe 188 in the off season because every summer I'd lose 8 to 10 pounds. In my day, if a guy came to spring training 20 pounds heavier than when he left, he was considered out of shape and was probably in trouble. He'd be under a microscope, and the first time he couldn't beat out a base hit or missed a fly ball, he was probably shipped out. These guys sitting up here did not pave the way for the rest of us so the players could swing for the fences every time up and forget how to move a runner over to third. It's disrespectful to them, to you, and to the game of baseball that we all played growing up. Respect. A lot of people say this honor validates my career, but I didn't work hard for validation. I didn't play the game right because I saw a reward at the end of the tunnel. I played it right because that's what you're supposed to do. Play it right and with respect. If this validates anything, it's that learning how to bunt and hit and run and turning two is more important than knowing where to find the little red light at the dugout camera. If this validates anything, it's the guys who taught me the game. Coaches like Billy Williams, Chuck Cottier, John Vukovic, Jose Martinez, Billy Connors, and Ruben Amaro. Teammates like Larry Boa, who took me under his wing. Rick Sutcliffe, who was like an older brother. Bob Dernier, the half of the daily double. They did what they were supposed to do, and I did what I was supposed to do. There was Gary Matthews, the Sarge. He wouldn't let me down. He was always in the on-deck circle when I was batting. And if there was a pitch that almost hit me or knocked me down, Sarge would be halfway to the mound, screaming at the pitcher to get the ball over the plate or face the consequences. I saw a lot of fastballs down the middle because of Sarge, and I had too much respect for how hard he played to give it any less than he did. Sure, I worked hard to get most out of my God-given ability, but that's what we all did back then. That's what every one of these guys sitting here did. There were a lot of players who worked just as hard as I did. And if you didn't stay in the big leagues. There were guys like Bill Buckner, an incredible big league hitter. The first pure hitter I spent time with in the big leagues. I saw him come through the town with the Spokane Indians in AAA, with Tommy Lasorda and a whole team full of guys who went to the World Series. They all worked hard. There was Sean Dunston and Mark Grace. And together we were a double play combination for 10 years. Sean Dunston, who knew 3 weeks in advance if we were facing Nolan Ryan, and always had a hamstring pull planned for the day before. Mark Grace, who made sure Sean knew he was supposed to get every pop-up from foul line to foul line on the infield. We could read each other's minds on the field and off. They worked hard. How could I let them down? By not being prepared for everything that might happen in the field, at the plate, or on the bases. Respect. Andre Dawson, the Hawk. No player in baseball history worked harder, suffered more, or did it better than Andre Dawson. He's the best I've ever seen. Stand up, Hawk. The Hawk. I watched him win an MVP for a last place team in 1987, and it was the most unbelievable thing I've ever seen in baseball. He did it the right way, the natural way, and he did it in the field and on the bases and in every way. And I hope he will stand up here someday. We didn't get to a World Series together, but we almost got there, Hawk. That's my regret, that we didn't get to a World Series for Cub fans. I was in the postseason twice, and I'm thankful for that. Twice we came close. It reminds me of the guy walking down the beach. He finds a bottle, pops the cork, and a genie comes out to grant him one wish. The guy says, "My wish is for peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians. Here's a map of the Middle East." Genie takes the map, studies it for hours and hours, finally gives it back to the guy and says, "Is there anything else you want to wish for? This is impossible." The guy says, "Well, I always wanted to see the Cubs in a World Series." Genie looks at him, reaches out and says, "Let me have another look at that map." In baseball, there's always the next day. I always thought there'd be another chance. It didn't happen. But I feel fortunate for the two chances we had. And it's just a shame we didn't go to a World Series for Cub fans. You can't do it on your own. And I want to say thank you to every teammate, coach, manager, and just as important, my opponents, who made the game fun for me. I want to say thank you to friends like Doug DeCenzo, Yosh Kawano, Arlene Gill, Jimmy Farrell, John Fierro, my Cubs trainer for 10 years, and Marty Hare, an old high school teammate. To Jimmy Turner, Kathy Lintz, and Peter Bensinger, advisors, confidants, and close friends, thank you. Also Barry Rosner, great writer and good friend. It's fun talking baseball with you, Barry. Thank you. To the Baseball Writers Association, I thank you for granting me this incredible honor. I think a large part of this is the fact that I was a great interview and gave you so many quotes you could wrap a story around. Seriously, I know I wasn't the best interview for many of those years, but I wasn't trying to be difficult. I had other things on my mind. Baseball wasn't easy for me. I struggled many times when maybe it didn't look like I was struggling, and I had to work hard every day. I had to prepare mentally every day. I had to prepare physically every day, and I didn't leave many scraps for the writers. I hope you also understand why I would not campaign for this or help you sell this. It's the best award in all of sports. And I think if I had expected anything, if I was thinking about it too much or crunching the numbers, it would have taken away from the prestige of this incredible honor. To the great folks here at the Hall of Fame, Jane Forbes Clark, Dale Petrosky, Jeff Idelson, Kim Bennett, Brad Horn, Ted Spencer, Evan Chase. Thanks for making this entire year a joy for me and my family, one we will certainly never forget. I've been lucky enough to be welcomed into 3 new families since I arrived in Chicago. As great a public speaker as I am, I don't have the words to describe Cub fans. Who welcomed me as a rookie, were patient through my 1-for-32 start, and took me into their homes and into their hearts, and treated me like a member of their family. You picked me up when I was down. You lifted me to heights that I didn't know I could reach. You expected a certain level of play from me, and you made me play at that level for a long time. I know there are a lot of Cub fans here today. I feel like every Cub fan in the world is here with me today. And by the way, for what it's worth, Ron Santo just gained 1 more vote from the Veterans Committee. Thank you to these men here, these Hall of Famers, the greatest players in the history of baseball, who have welcomed me in and treated me as an equal. It's going to take some getting used to, but I thank you for your kindness and respect. This is the second best thing that's ever happened to me. Lastly, I joined a new family when my wife Margaret, BR, Adrian, and Stephen took me, Lindsay, and Justin into their family. And together, we have made quite a happy family. I love all of you. You were probably wondering what was the first when I said this honor is the second best thing that's ever happened to me. My wife, Margaret, is the best thing that's ever happened to me. She is my best friend. She is the love of my life. She is my salvation. She's my past, my present, my future. She is my sun, my moon, my stars. She is everything that's good about life, and I thank her for entering my life at a time when I needed her most. I love you. The feeling I've had since I got the call is a feeling I suspect will never go away. I'm told it never does. It's the highest high you can imagine. I wish you all could feel what I feel standing here. This is my last big game. This is my last big at-bat. This is my last time catching the final out. I dreamed of this as a child, but I had too much respect for baseball to think this was ever possible. I believe it is because I had so much respect for the game and respect for getting the most out of my ability that I stand here today. I hope others in the future will know this feeling for the same reason. Respect for the game of baseball. When we all played it, it was mandatory. It's something I hope we will one day see again. Thank you, and go Cubs.
Ladies and gentlemen, our 2005 inductees, Wade Boggs and Ryne Sandburg. As we conclude this year's National Baseball Hall of Fame induction ceremony, mark your calendars. Our 2006 induction will take place Sunday, July 30th, the last Sunday in July, right here. Thank you for joining us. Travel safely, and we look forward to seeing you next year.
Some wonderful moments and some real messages in the speech given by Ryne Sandburg. We'll be back and hear from both inductees when we return to Cooperstown.
So the Dodgers are down to their last out, game 1 of the World Series. And look who's coming up. Kirk Gibson with 2 bad legs. You talk about a roll of the dice. This is it. High fly ball into right field. She is gone!
With 100% whole grain, low fat, and fiber, the Breakfast of Champions brings out the champion in you.
The impossible has happened.
When it comes to finding the love of your life, what qualities are you looking for in someone?
The #1 quality I was looking for was character.
Kindness.
Somebody who was honest.
Great sense of humor. At eHarmony.com, we only match you with other singles who are compatible with you in all the areas that matter most in life.
eHarmony has, without a doubt, helped me to find the love of my life.
It begins with the powerful experience of getting your personality profile. Yours free when you log on today.
Hi, Steven.
Hi.
Sarah's still getting ready.
Okay.
How have your parents been?
Oh, they're fine, Mrs. Drake.
Good. Well, come on in. I like your haircut like this.
Mrs. Drake?
Call me Bonnie. Oops.
Warning, the makers of Tag Body Spray cannot be held liable if product is worn in the vicinity of your girlfriend's mother, your girlfriend's mother's friends, your girlfriend's friends, or any combination of the words friend, girl, and or mother that we forgot. Not valid in Canada.
Introducing Tag Body Spray for guys. Consider yourself warned.
See, kids, this is key. Everyone got their mean faces? All right, now, Steph, then kick your leg up real high. That's awesome. That's perfect. That's it right there. Oh, no. You want to go again?
Boys and Girls Clubs is the official charity of Major League Baseball.
Oh, that's scary.
Together, they create a positive place for kids.
Arm strength, quickness, agility, and body control. The essential elements of the winning defensive baseball player. And with Coach Yamansky's Defensive Drills video, you'll learn the amazing training secrets of America's finest baseball school. The Defensive Drills video features revolutionary training techniques developed by professional scout and instructor Tommy Nansky. Techniques that get results, producing baseball world's back-to-back-to-back AAU national championship teams and even a gold medal in international competition. In a recent review, Collegiate Baseball Magazine exclaimed, with Coach Yamansky's techniques, the future of baseball is here today. Even top professional players are impressed. Just ask Major League superstar Fred McGriff.
I'm so impressed with the instructional videos by Coach Yamansky that I've given them my full endorsement. When you watch them, you'll know why.
The Defensive Drills video is available now for immediate shipping. It makes a great gift and benefits players of all ages and ability levels. Get your copy of the Defensive Drills video for just $29.95 by calling toll-free 1-800-883-5995. Call now.
Ryne Sandburg and Wade Boggs basking in the glow, getting their pictures taken with their plaques. When we come back, we'll go over future classes, and we'll hear from Sandburg and Boggs with Gary Thorne.
Cholesterol comes from two sources. It's not only from that buttered crab.
but from Crabby Aunt Betty. And not just from that ice cream pop, but from Mom and Pop as well. Your cholesterol doesn't just come from food. It also has a lot to do with family history. Ask your doctor about Vytorin. A healthy diet is important, but when it's not enough, adding Vytorin can help. Vytorin treats the two sources of cholesterol, food and what your body makes naturally based on family history. Vytorin was proven in clinical studies to lower bad cholesterol more than Lipitor alone. Vytorin is not for everyone, including people with liver problems, women who are nursing, pregnant, or may become pregnant. Unexplained muscle pain or weakness could be a sign of a rare but serious side effect. Vytorin may interact with other medicines or certain foods, increasing your risk of getting this serious side effect. Simple blood tests are needed to check for liver problems. Follow a healthy diet and ask your doctor about adding Vytorin. For the two sources of cholesterol, remember the name Vytorin. That's Vytorin.
Why are you doing this? This is unbelievable. Stop eating.
Hon, the babysitter's fine.
A1 steak sauce.
Did you eat my steak?
Yeah, it's that important. Cookie Dough Blast. Sonic's got it, others don't. Indulge in the irresistible taste of chocolate chip cookie dough blended into a creamy frozen treat. Sonic's new Cookie Dough Blast. Get one tonight because Sonic's open till at least midnight all summer long.
Would you like to lower your mortgage payments up to 45%?
I could reduce my monthly payments? Tell me how.
Introducing Smart Choice, the new home loan exclusively from Quicken Loans. Whether you're buying a new home or refinancing, Smart Choice is the answer. Here's an example. A traditional 30-year loan for $200,000 at 6.5% interest would be $1,260 a month. But with Smart Choice, that same loan would be an amazingly low $690 a month. That's a difference of almost $7,000 a year.
That's good news. So what are we waiting for?
Call toll-free now and see how you can lower your monthly mortgage payments. The new Smart Choice loan will lower your monthly payments up to 45%. It's great for refinancing or for purchasing that new home. Gives you monthly payment flexibility, so you can decide to pay just interest or make payments to principal whenever you want. Plus, with Smart Choice, you'll have extra money each month to remodel your home, pay off credit cards, or whatever you need. It's your choice with Smart Choice. Call this number right now while rates are still low and see how you can lower your monthly payments up to 45% and have more money on hand every month.
Reducing my monthly payments would be great.
It's easy to see how Smart Choice can lower your payments by thousands of dollars a year, no matter what your loan amount. Take a look. The difference can be up to $4,000, $6,000, even $16,000 a year. Smart Choice, the new home loan exclusively from Quicken Loans, can work for you, even if you just refinanced.
We got all our home loans from Quicken Loans. We'd never go anywhere else.
So if you're refinancing or if you're buying a new home, call this toll-free number now. Or go to QuickenLoans.com and lower your mortgage payments by up to 45%. But don't wait. Take advantage today before rates go up.
We return here in Cooperstown. Cub fans still soaking it all in. Again, they bask in the glow as well. 2005 Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Brian Kenny and Tim Kirchin here as we get misty a few times as we sit up here as Peter Gammons brings us nearly to tears in his eloquent speech. Jerry Coleman, all he's been through in his life, has his speech as well. Everyone trying to get in all of their families, their Little League coaches, their parents. Tim, let's go right now. Gary Thorne did a marvelous job today filling in for George Grant, who's done this for more than 2 decades. Gary Thorne right now with Ryne Sandburg and Wade Boggs.
Thanks very much. What a great honor it is to have the guys here and maybe breathing once again. I'm not sure they've been breathing for a long time here. I got to ask each of you, because we talked about this as the weekend went along. So let's start with you, Wade. How'd you get through it? What did you think about? What did you do to get here and then get through it?
Gary, I really don't know. I really don't know. This morning when I woke up, I was so nervous. And backstage, when they were introducing all the Hall of Famers, I was just, it was building and building and building. And I think the one thing that got me through it was listening to SportsCenter this morning, and the over and under was 2 minutes, and George bet on the under of breaking down on the stage. And I really feel my mother was speaking through me.
I hear you.
Yeah.
How about you, Ryne? How about getting through it? What'd you do? What was it like today?
It was a lot like survival. I mean, let me tell you, it just builds and builds, and they give you so much time to think about it. They gave you 7 months.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you count down the months, and you got 3 months left, and that's like right around the corner. Then you got 3 weeks left, and that's like a long time. I mean, so much time to think about it. And then when I woke up this morning, and I was thinking, you know, this was a date on my calendar that was pretty significant, and it's today.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how I got through this part of it today, but
you can breathe again.
It was great to have the support, and the fans, the Cub fans, got me going and made me feel comfortable today.
Let me follow up on your speech. You talked about repeatedly the respect for the game. My sense is it does, for both of you, it doesn't end here. I mean, your careers as players, playing days are done, but what you do for the game now, you have tremendous opportunities to give to the game some more, yes?
Yes, definitely. I think that's a part of our new job, and I'm looking forward to that. It's great to still put on a Cubs uniform and be there in spring training every spring, and to bounce some things off the young players and to tell them how these guys played the game. The guys that were in the league and established and superstars when I broke in.
Yep.
What I thought about that and how I felt, and all that did for me is just made me work 10 times harder than maybe I would have, and really that's the message, and respect for the game of baseball. These guys that were here today behind me deserve all the respect in the world, and the game of baseball should be respected as much as anything, and as much as ever.
All right, wait for you too.
I think that our duty now is to become ambassadors for the game, and the thing that I preach is you don't get to the Hall of Fame by not working hard and not hustling. It doesn't take any ability at all to hustle, and it's the way you play the game, like Ryne said, the way you play the game, you have to respect the game, you have to respect the uniform, and mostly is one thing that Ryne said about respecting your teammates, not running out of ball. Yep. Just loafing down to first, and not busting your tail day in and day out. And that's how you play the game. And that was probably one reason why I got here, is because I played the game at one speed, and that was at full speed.
Guys, congratulations. Both your speeches were magnificent.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks, Gary.
Just enjoy it so much. And Ryne and Tim, it seems to me that one of the things that may be a turning point here, because both of these guys came out and said something we haven't heard for a while about how this game should be played and making it a top priority. And for that, as a baseball fan, I say thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Gary, thank you so much. Ryne, Wade, and when we come back, J.G. Taylor Spink Award winner Peter Gammons will join us up here. We'll get some of his best moments on his day where he's honored by the Hall of Fame. We're back after this.
America's favorite home gym is more affordable than ever. Now you can get the all-new Bowflex Extreme for just $19 a month. Call the number on your screen for a free DVD or video and check it out. Bowflex's Power Rod technology delivers results. Powerful arms, defined legs, a stronger chest, and a toned, sexy core. All it takes is one simple workout, 20 minutes a day, 3 times a week, to get in the best shape of your life. The Extreme is built so well that we back it with an unrivaled 7-year warranty. And so effective, it comes with Bowflex's 100% satisfaction guarantee. Through this special offer, you can own one with no money down and just $19 per month. You can't get this Bowflex deal anywhere else. Call us for a free DVD or video, or visit us online and find out how to get your Bowflex for just $19 a month today. For a limited time, receive free shipping when you order a Bowflex home gym. Call for details.
Have you been in an accident of any kind? Any stalling, sputtering, that kind of thing?
Don't buy a used car without a Carfax history report. Now with the buyback guarantee. For details, ask your dealer or go to Carfax.com.
It's the hottest sales event of the summer. Right off with the awesome Honda VTX 1300. Now only $39 a month at 3.9% APR for the first 12 months. Or a fixed APR as low as 6.9% that won't change. And for a limited time, these deals are available on any new Honda motorcycle, ATV, scooter, or watercraft. Plus, get up to $500 in bonus bucks for gear and accessories on select models. So hurry into the Red Hot Summer Festival for great deals at your Honda dealer.
I'm just like you. I work hard every day. Back pain or not, because I get big relief from the Icy Hot Back Patch.
Bigger than many ordinary patches. First, it's icy to dull the pain, then hot to relax it away. The Icy Hot Back Patch.
Count on it.
Y'all ready for this?
Sweet picture. It's a plasma.
Yeah, it's a Dell. Hey, have a seat. Make yourself at home, okay?
That's a nice plasma.
The Dell Plasma TV. At this price, you can hug your own. Right now, order the award-winning 42-inch HD Dell Plasma TV for just $28.50 after instant savings. Plus, get free shipping. And right now, pay no interest until 2007 for well-qualified customers. Just call or go online now to get more.
If your broker tells you he shopped really hard to get you the best auto insurance deal in town, ask him if he got a quote from 21st.
You see, your broker can't quote you our low rates. We don't work with brokers.
We work directly with you. Call 1-800-211-SAVE and get a free quote in minutes.
In fact, our new customers save an average of $300.
Remember, we don't charge broker fees. We work directly with you.
You have our word on that.
21st Century Insurance. Good people to call. Call us now at 1-800-211-SAVE.
Oh, man, these seats are great.
Yeah, right behind the dugout.
Come on, bat it. Oh, I got it.
Oh, man.
I know. I almost had that.
No, somebody spilled beer on me.
Really?
Yeah, I'm soaked.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
These seats are awesome. Dude, can I lick your face? Awesome seats.
Want great seats? Go to StubHub.com. Get the tickets you want delivered, just like that.
StubHub!
Oh, a tremendous day for our own Peter Gammons as well. Peter Gammons, Jerry Coleman honored. Spink Award, Ford Frick Award. Peter Gammons joining us right now, live here in Cooperstown. And once again, the Spink Award going to Ring Lardner, Grantlin Rice, Shirley Povich, Red Smith, Jim Murray, Dick Young, and now Peter Gammons. Peter, congratulations. Beautifully done. It was done with eloquence and grace. How are you right now?
I feel very, very happy. I mean, you know, my speech was about why I love the game and why it's important to me, and it should be important to a lot of people. But this whole weekend, I mean, I was telling Tim, before we went up there, Willie Mays came up and he handed me a ball, and it had all the Hall of Famers on it, and said, "Would you sign it?" And I sort of recoiled. I'm not in the Hall of Fame. And he went, "No." He put his hand on my shoulder and said, "You're one of us." And Willie Mays. I mean, this is, you know, in my mind, the greatest player who ever lived, and that's kind of a moment that you never ever forget. I'll never forget as long as I live.
What was your day like? Did you sleep?
No, I was awake by about 3:45, worrying about it. I'm an angst person anyway, but I was worrying about it. I mean, I had the speech pretty well.
Mark Moses from Evanston here today cheering on the Cubs and singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," and trying to get some offense going here in the final three.
I'm trying to get a rally going here. 11-2. You know what? We only need 10 runs, right?
Hey, wind's blowing out of Wrigley Field. We've all seen it happen before. Why not today?
It's a beautiful day, and anything can happen, as they say. And it ain't over till it's over, right, Zane?
So Zane is here. And the pitch to Todd Hollingsworth, ball one.
Well, Zane plays a keyboard, so he wanted to be up here for taking me out to the ball game.
Now the Cubs have made it.
They don't like that.
Man, this is a perfect sandwich, you know. At least for me, it is.
There it is, bite number 19,000.
Well, the wife says when she's got to put them in a blender, it ends. You know, that's what she told me.
Big Mac smoothies.
Yeah.